Shalom to our YouTube Mashpaka, for those who will watch this later on YouTube. Shalom to you worldwide. Shalom to the elder Ak, Yahuda. Shalom to the younger Ak, Ephraim. Shalom to the stranger, to the former stranger, rather, the former guard, the former Goyim, the former Gentile, the former nation, who is no longer a stranger or a foreigner, or Goyim or Gui, or Gentile or nation, but having been engrafted into the Ba'if, which is to say the house of Yasha'al, through Hanatsah, which is to say the branch, who is Yahushua HaMashiach, and whereby being engrafted into the olive tree, and by extension being re-engrafted into the tree of life, you are now privy to the very same everlasting covenant and promise and inheritance that was given to Yasha'al and to Yasha'al alone. Shalom, shalom to you worldwide, wherever your feet touch the soil on this yom. Shalom, shalom to you on this La'ilah, on this evening. And so, Mashpaka, we're just going to jump right into this. We're still searching for the ancient path, and this is going to be part 22. But Abba, he has sent me by this La'ilah with an urgency for whomever have eyes to see and whomever has ears to hear. He sent me by with an urgency, and there's going to be an announcement at the end of this teaching. At the end of this, there's going to be an announcement. But there's an urgency to this one. There is a urgency because we're in a mu'adah. This is a mu'adah. This is an appointed season. This is an appointed time. And there is an urgency that his people must get. That his people must get. And it is my prayer. It is my sincere prayer that his people will understand the urgency of the message. Will understand the urgency of the message, and will adhere. Not only understand the urgency, but will in kind adhere to what thus says Yahuwah. To what thus says Yahuwah. So he wanted me to remind the Mashpach of something. He wants me to read 2nd Esdras, the 7th chapter. We've read this before. It's been read before, but there's a sense of urgency. There's a sense of urgency because some are still not getting this. Some are still not getting it, and you don't have a sensitivity to the urgency of this season. You don't have a sensitivity to what season that we're in. And so he sent me by with an urgency tonight, but he wants me to read 2nd Esdras again. He wants me to read it again. I'm going to read it in its entirety. And it's part of the teaching, searching for the ancient path, and it's going to be part 22. But I'm going to read 2nd Esdras, the 7th chapter again, and I'm going to read it from the Good News translation because it just reads the most clearly, the most plain. So beginning at verse 1, it reads, "When I had finished speaking, the same messenger that had been sent to me on the earlier nights appeared again. He said, 'Stand up, Azra, and listen to what I have come to tell you.' 'Go ahead, sir,' I said. He continued, 'Picture in your mind a broad, immense sea spreading over a vast area, but with an entrance,' listen, but with an entrance no wider than a river. No wider than a river." Mashpaka, some don't seem to understand how hard this road is, how hard it is, and how narrow it is. Some don't seem to get. Abba, please give them an understanding of how hard this is. "But with an entrance no wider than a river. No one who wishes to enter that sea, whether to visit it or control it, can reach its broad expanse of water without passing through the narrow entrance." Or take another example. Picture a city on a plain. The city is full of all kinds of good things, but the entrance to it is narrow and steep, with fire on one side and deep water on the other. The one path between the fire and the water is so narrow that only one person at a time may walk on it. If anyone inherits this city, if anyone inherits this city, he cannot take possession of his inheritance without passing through this dangerous entrance. Through this dangerous entrance. It's narrow, Miss Parker. It's narrow. Miss Parker, it's narrow. And you've got to be perfect. You've got to be perfect. He sent me by with an urgency this night. We've got to be perfect. I haven't been sent by to give you any excuses. We've been lied to. We've been lied to. They've told us that we don't have to be perfect, that he understands our hearts, that we are being perfected. They have lied to us. He demands perfection. He demands perfection. Please understand, you can't make excuses. You can't. You can't make excuses. He demands perfection. He will accept nothing less than perfection. Nothing less. Please understand. He will accept nothing less than perfection. You've got to quit making excuses. You've got to. You've got to quit making excuses. Verse 10. That is right, sir, I said. That is how it is with the people of YAHUAH. He added, I made this world for their sake. But when Adam broke my commands, the world came under my judgment. Then the entrances into this world, the world of eternity, were made narrow and difficult to travel. Narrow and very difficult to travel. He's been telling you through his servant that it's not easy, that it's hard. But many of you have continued to make excuses. You've continued to make excuses. You are no different than our ancestors who raised flocks and herds just for the explicit purposes of committing crime. Or if we commit crime, we have raised flocks and herds. I have a whole pen full of flocks and herds in case I commit crime. You're no different than them. You're using Yahusha the same way. You're using him the same way, and that's the wrong reason. That's the wrong reason. We've got to be perfect. We've got to be perfect, and we can no longer make excuses. We've got to be perfect. He demands perfection. This is how it is with the people of YAHUAH, he added. I made this world for their sake. But when Adam broke my commands, the world came under my judgment. Our ancestors were perfect. Our righteous fathers, they were perfect. They walked this ancient path perfectly, and they did not transgress it. They did not turn to the right or to the left. We must be perfect. Then the entrances into this world were made narrow and difficult to travel. They were rough, dangerous, and few in number. But the entrances to the great world to come are wide and safe and lead to immortality. Everyone who lives must walk the narrow and meaningless ways of this world in order to receive the barakut stored up in the world to come. So, Azra, why are you upset and disturbed by the thought that you are mortal and must die? Why don't you think about the age to come rather than the present age? I answered, Master, Yahuwah and Master, in your Torah, you said that the righteous would receive all these barakut, but that the wicked would perish. So the righteous can endure all the difficulties of this narrow way. So the righteous can endure all the difficulties of this narrow way, because they look forward to the broad and open life of the future. But the wicked must pass through the narrow way without any expectation of seeing the broad open life. The messenger replied, do you think you are a better judge than Elohim? Do you think you are more kakam or more prudent than all Ayun? It is better to let many people of the present age perish than to allow them to neglect the Torah that Elohim has given them. Many are called, but only few are chosen. Elohim has given clear commandments to everyone coming into this world, telling what they should do to obtain life and to avoid punishment. But the wicked would not listen and refuse to obey him. In their foolishness, they have made their own wicked and deceitful plans. They denied the existence of Al-Yun and refused to follow his ways, his darak, his ancient path. They have rejected his Torah, refused to accept his promises, disobeyed his decrees, and failed to do what he commanded. That's the reason, Azra, that there is emptiness for the empty and fullness for the full. The messianic reign and the final judgment. The time is coming when these signs will take place. The invisible city will appear, and the land that is now hidden will be seen. Everyone who survives the calamities I have predicted will also see the wonderful things I will do. My son, the Mashiach, will be revealed, together with those who come with him. He will bring 400 years of gladness to all the survivors. This equates to 1,000 years. At the end of that time, my son, the Mashiach, and all human beings will die. Why? Because flesh and blood cannot inherit the reign of Elohim. Flesh and blood cannot inherit it. And so all flesh that is living in 1,000-year reign at the end of 1,000 years is going to die, because flesh and blood cannot inherit the reign of Shamayim. Then the world will return to its original silence, and for 7 days it would be like it was at the beginning. No one would be left alive. After 7 days, this corrupt age would pass out of existence, and a new age will be awakened, the last great day. The ground will give up the dead who sleep there in silence, and the souls of the dead will be released from the places where they have been kept. All Ayun will appear on his judgment seat. Listen, compassion and patience will vanish completely and be replaced by judgment. Truth and trustworthiness will once again stand firm. The good and bad that people have done will be fully revealed, and reward and punishment will follow immediately. The pit of torment, the fires of Shaul, will appear, and opposite them the paradise of gladness and rest. Then all Ayun will say to the nations that have been raised from the dead, look, I am the one whom you have denied and refused to serve. It is my commands that you have rejected. Listen, Mashpaka, he sent me by with an urgent message to tell us that we must be perfect. That we must be perfect. That we cannot turn to the right or to the left of this path. And doing so is transgression. Doing so is transgression. Doing so is walking in darkness. You see, we've been lied to. They have told us that it's not possible to be perfect. They are a liar. That is a lie from the pit of Shaul. It is possible to be perfect. And we must be perfect. This is a mu'adah, and we've got to stop making excuses. It is possible to be perfect, and we must be perfect. If we expect to enter into life, we must be perfect. Because you know what? Those who are coming out of the great distress, when they come out, they're going to be perfect. Yes, they are. They're going to be perfect. Before I move on, please, someone read Revelation 7 and begin reading at verse 9. Revelation 7 and begin reading at verse 9.
After this I looked and saw a great crowd, which no one was able to count, out of all the nations and tribes and peoples and tongues, standing before the throne and before the Lamb, dressed in white robes and palm branches in their hands, and crying out with a loud voice, saying, Deliverance belongs to our Elohim, who sits on the throne, and to the Lamb. And all the messengers stood around the throne and the elders and the four living creatures, and fell on their faces before the throne and worshipped Elohim, saying, Amen. The barakah and the esteem and the wisdom and the thanksgiving and the respect and the power and the might to our Elohim forever and ever. Amen. And one of the elders responded, saying to me, Who are these dressed in white robes? And where did they come from? And I said to him, Master, you know. And he said to me, These are those coming out of the great distress, having washed their robes and made them white in the blood of the Lamb.
Yahuwah, you can stop right there. Either you be perfect now, or be perfect coming out of the great distress. Either way, we must be perfect. Either way, we must be perfect. They are many, most are going to be perfect, having washed their robes in the fires of the tribulation of the great distress. Many are going to become perfect that way. But he's calling upon a remnant within a remnant to be perfect right now. We must be perfect. Stop making excuses. Stop. We've got to be perfect. We must be perfect as he is perfect. Stop making excuses. Be perfect now, or be perfect coming out of the great distress. Either way, we've got to be perfect. We've got to be perfect. Verse 37. Then all Ayun will say to the nations that have been raised from the dead, Look, I am the one who have denied. I am the one whom you have denied and refused to serve. It is my command that you have rejected. Either we walk the path perfectly, or we have denied him, because he is perfect. Either we walk perfectly and uprightly before him, or we have denied him. We must walk perfectly. Yahushua displayed, he demonstrated that it is possible to walk perfect. He demonstrated it. He demonstrated it for us that it is possible to be perfect. Stop making excuses. He ain't accepting excuses no more. We must be perfect. We must be perfect. If we're not walking perfectly, it is as though we are rejecting and denying him. We are rejecting and denying the blood, the shed dam that was shed for us in order to what? To make us perfect. To give us the ability to walk perfectly and upright towards our Elohim. Verse 38. Look around you. There is gladness and shalom in one direction, fire and torment in the other. That is what he will say to them on Judgment Day. On Judgment Day, there will be no sun, moon, or stars, no cloud, thunder, or lightning, no wind, water, or air, no darkness, evening or morning, no summer, spring, or winter, no heat, frost, or cold, no hail, rain, or dew, no noon, night, or dawn, no daylight, brightness, or light. The only light will be the dazzling brightness of all Ayun, making it possible for everyone to see. The judgment will last 7 years. That's the arrangement I have made for Judgment Day. Completion. All will be complete. But I have revealed these things only to you. I have revealed these things only to you. Verse 45. Then I said, Master, I repeat what I said earlier. How fortunate are the people who can live now and obey your commands. Listen. Then I said, Master, I respect what I said earlier. How fortunate are the people who can live now and obey your commands. Now, we have been reading, Mishpaka. We have been reading that we, in the Torah, that we are to obey how many of his commands? How many, Mishpaka? All of them. All of them. And meaning that we are to be perfect. Perfect. We are to obey all of them. If we transgress one, we transgress them all. We have been listening to the Christian church saying it's impossible to be perfect. It is impossible to obey his commands. They are a liar. They are liars just like their father. We must be perfect and obey all of his commands. Then I said, Master, I repeat what I said earlier. How fortunate are the people who can live now and obey your commands. But what about those whom I have been praying? There is no one in the present generation who has not committed crime. No one who has not broken your covenant. Now I understand that the world to come will bring gladness to only a few, but torment to many. We don't have this excuse. We don't have it because the everlasting covenant has been renewed once and for all by the shed blood of Yahushua HaMashiach. We have no more excuses to walk in lawlessness. We have no more excuses. He has shed his dam and sent back his ruach, whereby giving us the power and the ability and the willingness to walk perfectly towards him. We have no more excuses. If we continue to make excuses and walk in crime after his crime offering, there remains no more crime offering for crime for us. There remains no more offering for crime for us. We must be perfect. We must be perfect. But what about those whom I have been praying? But what about those for whom I have been praying? There is no one in the present generation who has not committed crime. No one who has not broken your covenant. Now I understand that the world to come will bring gladness to only a few. To only a few. Write that word down. Write it down. Everyone here, write that word down. Write few. Write it down and meditate on it. Every day you meditate on that word. Few. Few. Only a few. Now I understand that the world to come will bring gladness to only a few, but torment to many. The evil impulse within us has grown and it has led us away from Elohim's ways, led us away from the ancient path, brought us to ruin, put us on the way to death, the broad path that leads to destruction, which is death and destruction, and taken us far from life. It is destroyed not only a few, but almost everyone who was ever created. Listen to me, the messenger said, and I will teach you further and correct your thinking, because only a few will be saved. Only a few will be saved. Elohim created two worlds instead of only one. As you say, only a few people are righteous, but there are large numbers of wicked people. But listen, if you had only a few precious stones, would you add lumps of lead and clay to them in order to have more? Surely no one would do that, sir, I answered. Take another illustration, he continued. The earth herself will give you an answer if you humbly ask it, whether it produces more gold, silver, copper, iron, lead, or clay. There is more silver than gold, more copper than silver, more iron than copper, more lead than iron. More lead than iron, and more clay than lead. So judge for yourself which are more desirable and valuable, common things or rare things. Common things or rare things. You see, it's very rare to walk in perfection. It's very rare to walk the ancient path perfectly, upright and perfectly. That's rare. That's rare. It's hard. It's hard. And only a few are going to find that way. I pray that you're getting this. We must be perfect. We must be perfect. He will accept nothing else. Oh, Abba, please impress upon them that we must be perfect. We must be perfect. I answered, Master, Yahuwah and Master, the common things are cheap. The common things are cheap. And this is why the vast amount of this earth population is going to destruction, because they're walking the broad path. Even those who are thinking that they're on the path. Abba spoke through his servant last week about we can even be walking in darkness and thinking that we're walking in light. This path is narrow and it is hard, and we must walk it perfectly. 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 You must stop making excuses. You must come out of the indoctrination of the church that is taught that it's not possible to be perfect. It is. It is perfect. It is possible. If it were not possible, Yahushua would not have done it. He could not have accomplished it. It is possible. It's possible to be perfect. I answered, Yahuwah and Master, the common things are cheap. It is the rare things that are valuable. All right, he replied. So draw the logical conclusion. The person who has what is scarce has more reason to be pleased than the person who has what is plentiful. It's the same with the judgment that I have promised. I will be pleased with the few who will be saved, because they are the ones who now praise and honor me and make my name known. Some of you won't even praise him. Some of you won't even praise him. And you think you're remnant within the remnant? You think you're going to enter into life when you won't praise him now? Praising him is part of being perfect, because we're commanded to bring him offerings. We're commanded to bring him his offerings at the appointed time, continually, forever. Forever. This is without end. Forever. And so to not praise him is to not walk in perfection. And some of you won't even praise him. Some of you won't even give him the bulls of your lips. All right, he replied. So draw the logical conclusion. The person who has what is scarce has more reason to be pleased than the person who has what is plentiful. It's the same with the judgment that I have promised. I will be pleased with the few who will be saved, because they are the ones who now praise and honor and reverence me. And honor and reverence me. How do we honor and reverence him? We obey him. We worship him. We aspire with every fiber of our beings. Every fiber of our beings to walk in perfection. But listen, I'm not here to give no excuses. It is possible. It is possible to be perfect. And he demands it of us. He demands it. Because they are the ones who now praise and honor me and make my name known. I will not be sad about the large number of people who will be lost, because even now they last no longer than a vapor. They disappear like fire and smoke. They catch fire, blaze up, and quickly go out. Then I said to the earth, look at what you have done. When you gave birth to the rest of creation, you gave birth to reason. It would have been better if you had never been created. Then we humans would never have had the power of reasoning. But as it is now, our reason grows up with us and then torments us, because we realize that we are going to die. Compared with us, who must bear this sorrow, the dumb animals must be glad. They are much better off than we are. They do not have to look forward to the judgment. They are not aware of any torment or salvation that is promised to them after death. What good is it to us that we are going to be given life in the future if it is to be a life of terrible torment? Everyone who is born is caught in the web of crime, is full of wickedness and burdened with guilt. I think it would be better if after death we did not have to face judgment. The messenger replied, when Al-Ayun was creating the world, as well as Adam, as his descendants, and the first thing he did was to get everything ready for the judgment. So you ought to learn from your own words. You said that your reason grows up with you. And that's the point. The people of this world used their reason and committed crime. They received Elohim's commands, but did not keep them. They accepted the Torah and then disobeyed it. And that's why they will suffer torment. What excuse can they offer at the judgment? How can they answer at the last day? Al-Yun has been very patient with the people of this world for a long time, but it has not been for their sake. He has done it for the sake of the age to come. Then I said, Sir, may I ask you, please, to explain to me what happens when we die, when we must give back our soul. Will we be kept at rest until the time when you begin to make your new creation, or will our torment begin immediately? I will answer that question also, he replied, but do not include yourself among those who will be tormented, because they have no use, for reverence. They have no use for worship. After all, you have a treasure of good works. After all, you have a treasure of good works stored up with Al-Yun, which will not be shown to you until the last days. But to answer your question about death, when Al-Yun has pronounced the final decree that a person shall die, the soul leaves the body to return to the one who gave it. Immediately it praises the esteem of Elohim. Immediately it praises the esteem of Al-Yun. Let me explain first about people who had no use for the ways of Al-Yun and hated those who worshipped him, who had no use for the ways, for the ancient path of Al-Yun, and hated those who worshipped him. There is no place where their souls can go for rest. There is no place where their souls can go for rest. Indeed, a wicked soul can find no rest. A wicked spirit can find no rest. It is written, when a wicked spirit is cast out of a man, it goes through dry places looking for rest. When it can find no rest, it returns to the house that it was cast out of. And when it finds that house swept and clean and neatly put in order, it goes and finds 7 more spirits more wicked than him, and they come to dwell in that man, and the next state of that man is worse than the last. A wicked spirit can find no rest. A wicked soul can find no rest. There is no place where their souls can go for rest. They must wander about forever in torment, grief, and sorrow. Their torment will progress in 7 stages. Firstly, they ignore the Torah of Al-Yun. Secondly, they can no longer make a sincere repentance and obtain life. Thirdly, they see the reward stored up for those who put their trust in the covenants of Al-Yun. Fourthly, they think about the torment that has been stored up for them in the last days. Fifthly, they see messengers guarding the homes of other souls in complete silence. Sixthly, they recognize that they must soon be tormented. Seventhly, and worst of all, when they see the esteem of Al-Yun, they are sick with remorse and shame. They cringe in fear, because while they were living, they committed crime against him. And now they are about to come before him to be judged on the last day. If you are listening under the sound of my voice, you have no excuse anymore. Yahuwah has sent me by to tell you that we must be perfect. He sent me by to tell you that it is possible to be perfect. And now you have no more excuses. Your excuses are gone. You have no more excuses. Do not make any more excuses. You have none. You have none. He has sent me by with this urgent message this night to tell you not only that this is a mu'adah, and if you expect to be kept from the hour of trial, you must be perfect. We must be perfect. We must be perfect. Verse 89. While they lived on earth, let's go back to verse 88. Now let me explain about those who followed the ways of Al-Yun and what will happen when the time comes for them to leave their mortal bodies. While they lived on earth, through constant difficulty and danger, they served Al-Ayun and carefully kept the Torah given by the Torah giver. And carefully kept the Torah given by the Torah giver. In other words, they kept it perfectly. They walked perfectly. He demands perfection. This is what they will receive. They will celebrate when they see the great esteem of Elohim. He will receive them, and they will enter their rest in 7 stages of gladness. The first stage is to have struggled hard and won the Teshua over the evil impulse which was formed in them. Let me go back and read this, verse 92. The first gladness is to have struggled hard and won the Teshua over the evil impulses which was formed in them, but which did not succeed in leading them from life into death. The second is to see the endless wandering of the souls of the wicked and the punishment that is waiting for them. I think it's worth reading verse 92 again. Many have inward struggles. Many have inward struggles. The test is if whether or not those inward struggles overcome you, or whether or not you overcome the struggles. The first gladness is to have struggled hard and won the Teshua over the evil impulse which was formed in them, but which did not succeed in leading them from life into death. The second is to see the endless wandering of the souls of the wicked and the punishment that is waiting for them. The third is to know what a good report their Maker has given about them, that during their lifetime they kept the Torah that was entrusted to them. The fourth is to appreciate the rest that they are to enjoy in the place where they have been brought together, guarded by messengers in complete silence and with the esteem that is waiting for them at the last day. The fifth is to celebrate that they have now escaped the corrupt world and will receive the future life as their possession. They can see both the narrow, troubled world from which they have been freed and the spacious world they will receive and enjoy forever. The sixth is to be shown how their faces will shine like the sun and how they are to be like the light of the stars that never die. The seventh gladness, and best of all, is when they rush to meet Elohim face to face with perfect trust and gladness without any fear or shame. They served him during their lifetime, and now they will receive from him their reward in esteem. These rewards that I have been telling you about are those that have been prepared for the nephash, the souls of the righteous. I described to you earlier the torment that the rebellious will suffer. Then I asked, when the souls of the righteous are separated from their bodies, will they be given time to see what they have told me about? They will be free for 7 days, he answered. And during that time, they will be able to see the things I have told you about. After that, they will be brought together with the other souls in their homes. Then I said, Sir, please tell me whether the righteous will be able to ask Al-Ayun to show compassion on the unrighteous on Judgment Day. On the unrighteous. In other words, the unrighteous translates to the Torahless. To the Torahless. To those who make excuses. To those who don't understand that we must be perfect. We must be perfect. Either we're going to walk perfect now, or he is going to make us perfect in the fires of tribulation. It's our choice. It's our choice. Walk perfect now, or be made perfect via the fires of tribulation. That's the choice. Will fathers be able to pray for their children? Children for parents, brothers for brothers, relatives for those near to them, and friends for those dear to them? I will be glad to tell you, he replied. Judgment Day is final and sets the seal on truth for all to see. You know that in this age a father cannot send his son to be sick for him, or sleep or eat or be healed for him. An owner cannot send his slave to do these things for him, nor can a person send his best friend. In the same way, on that day, no one will be able to pray for another person. Each person will receive the punishment or reward for his own criminal or for his own crimes or righteousness. If that is so, I answered, how can we explain what we find in the scriptures? Abraham prayed for the people of Sodom, Masha for our ancestors who committed crime in the desert. Later, Yahusha prayed for the people of Yashar'al in the time of Akan, and Shamuel prayed for them in the days of Sha'al. Dawood prayed at the time of the epidemic, and Shalama prayed for those who were going to worship in the Ha'ikal. All Yah prayed that the people might have rain and for a dead person to come back to life. Iskiyahu prayed for the people during the time of Sennacherib, and there are many other examples. If righteous people prayed for the righteous during such times when corruption increased and injustice multiplied, why won't the same thing happen at the judgment day? The present age is not the end of everything, the messenger answered. Even in this age, the esteemed presence of Elohim is not always seen. That is why the strong have prayed for the weak during this age. But the judgment day will be the end of the present age and the beginning of the future age. Then all corruption will end. Self-indulgence and disloyalty will be eliminated. Righteousness and truth will reach their full maturity. So on judgment day, no one will be able to have compassion on those who have been condemned, and no one will be able to harm those who have been acquitted. I answered, I made this point before, and I will make it again. It would have been better if the earth had never produced Adam, or when it had done so, if it had made him so that he could not commit crime. What good is it for any of us to have life in the present age, when it is full of misery and when all we can look forward to after death is punishment? Adam, oh Adam, what have you done? Your crime was not only your own downfall, it was also the downfall of all of us who are your descendants. What good is it to us that we have the promise of immortal life when we have committed crimes that condemn us to death? And again, we have no more excuses because we have been given a second opportunity, provided that we have been reborn. If we have been reborn, then we are looked upon as newborn babes, being given another opportunity to walk upright and perfect towards him. We have no excuse. We have no excuse. He shed his dung so that we could walk perfectly, so that we could be perfect even as he is perfect. We have no excuse. We have no excuse. Because if the same Ruach that was in Yahushua HaMashiach and allowed him to walk perfectly, if the same Ruach resides in us, we have no excuse. Then we too can walk perfectly. We too can be perfect. He does not want any more excuses. He does not want any more excuses. Indeed, this is a mu'adah, and this is a time of separation. He is getting ready to separate. Even now, those who are walking perfectly towards him and those who are not. He's not accepting any more excuses. He is not accepting any more excuses. He demands perfection. What good is verse 120, what good is the expectation of eternity when we find ourselves in such a completely hopeless situation? What good is it that safe and secure homes have been prepared for us in a future world when we have lived such wicked lives? What good is the promise that the esteemed presence of all Ayun will protect those who have lived pure lives when our own lives have been so full of crime? What good is it that paradise is shown to us, that its imperishable fruit can heal us and provide all we need? We can never go there because we have lived unacceptable lives. Indeed, this has been the purpose of the ancient path. This has been the purpose of this ancient path, to show us how to walk perfect and upright before him, as our ancient forefathers did, as Kanuk and Methuselah and Nuach and Sham and Eber and Seth and Habal and Abraham and Ishak and Yaqub, as all of our ancient fathers did, going down all the way down to Yahushua himself, who also walked perfectly in the same path that our ancient fathers walked in. This has been the purpose of these teachings. Some have held on to them. Most have not. You're still making excuses. And Abba is getting ready to separate. He's getting ready to separate. He sent me by with an urgent message this night to tell you that he demands perfection. He demands perfection. He will accept no excuses. What good is it that the faces of those who practice self-control will shine more highly? Let me go back to verse 125, verse 124. Actually, I don't see it. We'll just start at 125. What good is it that the faces of those who practice self-control will shine more brightly than the stars when our own faces will be blacker than the night? Never in our whole lives, when we committed crime, did we think about what we would have to suffer after death. The messenger replied, "This is the meaning of the conflict that every person on earth must endure." The messenger replied, "This is the meaning of the conflict that every person on earth must endure. If he is defeated, he must suffer the things you have just told me about. But if he is victorious, he will receive. If he wins the Teshua, if he overcomes, he will receive the rewards that I have just mentioned. That is why Masha long ago urged the people to do what? Choose life so that they may live. Life where? In the Torah, in the ancient path, obeying all of his commands, and being perfect as our Father is perfect. But they did not believe him, or the prophets or the Nabiyin who came after him. Indeed, you don't believe his servant. You don't believe his servant this night that you must be perfect. That to choose life is to choose perfection. To choose life is to choose perfection. But they did not believe him or the prophets who came after him. And they did not believe me when I spoke to them. So the sadness over their destruction is nothing compared with the great gladness over the salvation, over the Yeshua of those who believe. I answered, "Sir, I know that Al-Ayun is spoken of as compassionate because he shows compassion to those who have not entered this world. He is called compassionate because he shows compassion to those who repent and obey his Torah. To those who repent, to those who tashuba, to those who repent and obey his Torah perfectly. Perfectly. He is thought of as patient because he is patient with his own creatures who have committed crime. He is known as generous because he prefers to give rather than to demand. And he is known as very forgiving because he continues to forgive criminals of the past, present, and future. If he did not continue to forgive, there would not be no life for this world or the people in it. He is spoken of as pardoning because if it were not for his goodness in pardoning criminals, not one person in 10,000 would gain life. He is called judge because he pardons and blots out many crimes of those who were created by his word. If he did not, only a handful of the whole human race would be left. And so he's compassionate to you this night as he sent his servant by to tell you that you can no longer make excuses. That he demands perfection from us. He demands perfection. Write that down. You've already written few down. Write also perfection down. Write it down. Everyone here, write perfection down. He demands perfection. He demands perfection. He wanted me to reiterate that and read 2 Esdras 7 again. 2 Esdras 7 again, to whomever have eyes to see and ears to hear, because this is a mu'adah. This is a mu'adah. And if any of us expect to be remnant within the remnant, we must be perfect. We must be perfect. Indeed, even as he read in Revelation 7, even those who are coming out of the great distress, they're going to be perfect coming out of the great distress. Either we choose perfection now, or he is going to make us perfect through the fires of tribulation. Your choice, our choice. Matthew 7, verse 13 through 23. We just read 2 Esdras 7, and this is a precept. Matthew 7, verses 13 through 23. Enter in through the narrow gate, because the gate is wide, and the way is broad. And the way is broad that leads to destruction. This is the broad path that leads to destruction. And there are many who enter through it, because the gate is narrow. We just read this in 2 Esdras 7. Because the gate is narrow, and the way, the road, is hard pressed, which leads to life. The ancient path, the narrow path that leads to everlasting life, is hard pressed, which leads to life. And there are few who find it. Why are there few who find it? Because we must be perfect. Because we must be perfect. And only a few are going to be perfect. Only a few are going to be perfect. To give you a number, 144,000 plus those who are joined to them. And the first fruit resurrection. And the first fruit resurrection. Coming out of the great distress, there are going to be many nation, tribes, and tongues having washed their robes in the great distress, coming out perfect. Coming out perfect. Either way, he demands perfection. He demands perfection. Because the gate is narrow and the way is hard pressed. The ancient path is hard pressed, which leads to life. And there are few who find it. But beware of false Nabiim. Them false Nabiim in the Christian churches and everywhere else that says it is impossible to be perfect. That he knows our heart. That it is impossible to be perfect in this life. They have lied to us. They have lied to us. They have lied to us. It is possible. And he demands it. He demands it. But beware of the false Nabiim, the false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing. But inwardly they are savage wolves. By their fruits you shall know them. Are grapes gathered from the thorn bushes, or figs from thistles? So every good tree, listen, so every good tree yields good fruit. But a rotten tree yields wicked fruit. A good tree is unable to yield wicked fruit. He is telling us here that we must be perfect. He's telling us that we must be perfect. That a good tree is unable to yield wicked fruit. We must be perfect. And a rotten tree to yield good fruit. Every tree that does not bear good fruit is cut down and thrown into the fire. So then, by their fruits you shall know them. Not everyone who says to me, Master, Master, shall enter into the reign of the Shamayim, but he who is doing the desire of my Father in the Shamayim. What is the desire of our Father? That we obey him perfectly. That we walk the ancient path perfectly as our ancient fathers did. But he who is doing the desire of my Father in the heavens, as he is perfect, he demands that we be perfect. He showed us that it is possible in the person of Yahushua HaMashiach. Many shall say to me in that day, Master, Master, have we not prophesied in your name, and cast out demons in your name, and done many mighty works in your name? And then I shall declare to them, I never knew you. Depart from me, who work lawlessness. I never knew you. I never knew you. Indeed, he has given us the understanding to understand what it means to have known us. And to have known us is to know us as a man knows a woman. As when a man enters a woman, and as the Ruach enters us, he what? He knows us. We know him and he knows us. If he has entered us, he knows us and we know him. He's given us a precept here in Genesis chapter 4, verse 1. And Adam knew Kua, his wife, and she conceived and bore Cain and said, I have gained a man. Indeed, if he has not known us, we do not belong to him. We do not belong to him if he has not entered us via his Ruach HaKadosh. And if he has not entered us, truly entered us, then we cannot be perfect. Then we cannot be perfect. But when he truly enters us, we can be perfect. We can be perfect. It is possible. It is possible. When his Talmudim received that perfection on the day of Pentecost or on the day of Shavuot, they were perfect. From that point on, they walked perfectly and upright towards him because they operated in the same Ruach in which Yahushua HaMashiach operated in. And from that day forward, they walked perfectly. He demands perfection. He demands perfection. And unless he has known us and entered us as a man enters a woman, it's not possible. It's impossible to walk this ancient path. But if he has indeed known us, it is not impossible. Yahushua demonstrated that it's not impossible. It's not impossible if we walk in Ruach and not via our flesh. Matthew chapter 25, verse 10 through 12. And while they went to buy, the bridegroom came, and those who were ready went in with him to the wedding feast. And the door was shut. And later the other maidens also came, saying, Master, Master, open up for us. But he answered and said, Truly I say to you, I do not know you. I do not know you. Indeed, if the Ruach HaKadosh hasn't entered us as a man enters a woman, then Yahuwah has not known us. And if he has not done this, it is impossible to be perfect. It is impossible to be perfect. But if he has entered us, it is possible to be perfect. Yahushua demonstrated it. He walked as a man. He demonstrated that it is possible to be perfect if we have the full indwelling of the Ruach HaKadosh. It is perfect. It is perfect. It is possible. And he demands perfection from us. 1 John chapter 3, verse 1 through 10. 1 John chapter 3, verse 1 through 10. See what love the Father has given us, that we should be called children of Elohim. For this reason the world does not know us, because it did not know him. He had not entered them. Beloved ones, now we are children of Elohim, and it has not yet been revealed what we shall be. But we know that when he is revealed, we shall be like him, for we shall see him as he is. And everyone having this expectation in him does what? Cleanses himself. Cleanses himself as he is clean. As he is clean. Everyone having this expectation cleanses himself as he is clean. It is possible to be perfect in this life. It is possible, and he demands it. Listen, everyone doing crime also does lawlessness, and crime is lawlessness. And you know that he was manifested to take away our crimes. His Ruach, he was manifested to take away our crimes. And in him, there is no crime. Everyone staying in him does not commit crime. Everyone staying in him does not commit crime. As he is perfect, if we stay in him, we can be perfect. As he is perfect, him and us and him, we too then can be perfect. We have no excuses. We have none. He demands perfection. Everyone staying in him does not commit crime. Everyone committing crime has neither seen him nor known him. Everyone committing crime has neither seen him nor known him. Little children, let no one lead you astray. The one doing righteousness is righteous, even as he is righteous. The one doing crime is of the devil, because the devil has committed crime from the beginning. For this purpose, the Son of Elohim was manifested to destroy the works of the devil. Everyone having been born of Elohim does not commit crime. He is perfect. He is perfect. Write that down. Perfect. He is perfect. Everyone born of Elohim does not commit crime. Stop making your filthy, nasty excuses. Stop making them. Everyone born of Elohim does not commit crime. Period. Because his seed stays in him. And he is powerless to commit crime. He is powerless to commit crime. Because he has been born of Elohim. And this the children of Elohim and the children of the devil are manifest. Everyone not doing righteousness is not of Elohim, neither the one not loving his brother. Indeed, in Matthew chapter 5, verse 48, write it down. Matthew chapter 5, verse 48, Yahusha reiterates the words that has been spoken through his servant throughout this night. Matthew chapter 5, verse 48, therefore be perfect as your Father in the Shamayim, in the heavens, is perfect. He would not have told us this if perfection were not possible. It is possible, and it is demanded of us. It is demanded of us. We must be perfect. We must be perfect. Indeed, he was only reiterating the words that he spoke through Moshe in Leviticus 19th chapter, verses 1 and 2, and in the 20th chapter in other places. And that it says here, and Yahuwah spoke to Moshe, saying, speak to all the congregation of the children of Yahshua and say to them, be kadosh, be clean, be perfect. For I, Yahuwah, your Elohim, am perfect, am kadosh, am clean. Be perfect as he is perfect. Be kadosh as he is kadosh. Be clean as he is clean. He demands it. He demands perfection. Stop making your excuses. We have been lied to. We have been lied to. It is possible to be perfect. Yahusha showed us. And if we want to see Yahuwah, and if we want to see him, we too must be perfect. As it reads here in Hebrews, the 12th chapter, verse 14. Go ahead and write it down. Hebrews, Abarim. Hebrews, the 12th chapter, verse 14. It says here, listen, pursue shalom with all, and pursue. Now the Greek word here for pursue is dioko. Dioko rather. Dioko. The Greek word dioko. We're going to look at this. Pursue dioko shalom with all, and pursue dioko, apartness, cleanness, separateness. What does it say here? Without which no one shall see the master. Without which no one shall see the master. So without perfection, without separateness, no one shall see the master. Now listen, 144,000 going to see him first. But they're going to be perfect. And the ones coming out of the great distress, then they're going to see him. But then they're going to be perfect as well, having washed their robes out of the great distress. Let's look at this Greek word, dioko. Dioko. It is Strong's Greek 1377. Strong's Greek 1377. What does it mean? To put to flight, pursue, by implication, to persecute. Listen, dioko, properly, aggressively chase. Aggressively chase. So we must aggressively chase perfection. We can't passively chase it. We must aggressively chase perfection, for without which no one is going to see him. We must aggressively chase it and quit making your silly, filthy excuses. Stop making them. We must aggressively chase perfection. We must aggressively chase it. Listen, aggressively chase like a hunter pursuing a catch or a prize. Like a hunter pursuing a catch or a prize. And so Yahusha has shown us in his walk of the ancient path. Our forefathers, our ancient fathers have shown us that perfection is possible. Perfection is possible. As we read in 1 John, the 2nd chapter. 1 John, the 2nd chapter, verses 1 through 6. My little children, I write this to you so that you do not commit crime. And if anyone commits crime, we have an intercessor with the Father, Yahushua Mashiach, a righteous one. We cannot use this as an excuse. We cannot use this as an excuse like our ancestors did, who raised animals for the explicit purposes of committing crime, so that they had a standby for when they committed crime. You can't use this as an excuse. He expects perfection. He demands it. And he himself is an atoning offering for our crimes, and not for ours only, but also for all the world. but also for all the world. Can you turn to Hebrews chapter 10 real quick? But also for all the world. And by this we know, actually, let me see it. Let me see it. You there? Let me go. Let me go here. Stand by, Miss Parker. Give me a minute. Looking for something here. I don't see it, but I will quote it. I will quote it. If we continue to commit crime, purposely commit crime, after a crime offering has been given for us, like our ancestors did, there remains no more offering for crime for us. Listen, there remains no more offering for crime with us. We cannot use this as an excuse to commit crime. We cannot use this. We must aggressively pursue perfection. He demands it. And stop making excuses, because he showed that it's possible. He showed that it is possible. And he is demanded that we do what? And he himself is an atoning offering for our crimes, and not for ours only, but also for all the world. And by this we know that we know him, if we guard his commands. The one who says, I know him, and does not guard his commands is a liar, and the truth is not in him. But whoever guards his word, truly the love of Elohim has been perfected in him. By this we know that we are in him. By this we know that we are in him, and he is in us. The one who says he stays in him ought himself also to walk even as he walked. He walked perfectly. He was perfect. He was perfect. And so the walk as he walked is to walk perfectly. It's to walk in perfection. The one, by this we know that we are in him. The one who says that he stays in him ought himself also to walk even as he walked perfectly. Perfectly. Indeed, we do not serve a Kohen Gadol who cannot sympathize with our weaknesses, but one who is in every point tempted even as we are. But what? But yet remain without crime. So let us now boldly come before the throne of favor, that we may obtain compassion during our time of need. When do we go? When do we go to the throne of favor? When we're tempted. Not after you've committed crime. When you're tempted. You go to him when you're tempted, so that you don't commit crime, so that he can give you strength to continue to walk perfectly as he walked perfectly. Stop making excuses. We've got to be perfect as he is perfect. And he set the example. He set the stage for us and showed us that it is possible. It is possible. Indeed, if you are remnant within the remnant, we must be perfect. We must be perfect. Even the remnant is going to be perfect. Even those who come, even the remnant coming out of the great distress is going to be perfect. The remnant within the remnant must be perfect now. Must be perfect now. As we read now, finally, in Kazum, Revelation chapter 14, and I'm going to read verses 1 through 5. You've been thinking that this ancient path is a joke. It's not a joke. It's a serious matter. Many have become bored by the path. Many are becoming bored, and they're making their own bed. It's not going to be boring when they're running for their lives in the great distress. It won't be boring for them then. Revelation chapter 14, verse 1 through 5. And I looked and saw a lamb standing on Mount Zion, and with him 144,000, having his father's name written upon their forehead. And I heard a voice out of the Shamayim, out of the heaven, like the voice of many waters, and like the voice of a loud thunder. And I heard the sound of harpists playing their harps. And they sang a renewed song before the throne and before the four living creatures and the elders. And no one was able to learn that song except 144,000 who were redeemed from the earth. They are those, listen, who were not defiled with women. They were perfect. They are perfect, for they are maidens. Now, I'll explain to us this last Shabbat. This is not the physical. We're talking spiritual perfection. We're talking spiritual perfection. Not many of us are still virgins. We're talking spiritual perfection. They are those following the Lamb wherever he leads them on. They are perfect. They're walking this ancient path and not turning to the right or to the left. They're following the living Torah wherever he leads them on. They were redeemed from among men, being first fruits to Elohim and to the Lamb. And in their mouth was found no falsehood. No falsehood. They are perfect. Perfect. Quit making excuses. Stop it. We must be perfect. For they are blameless. They are perfect before the throne of Elohim. They are perfect before the throne of Elohim. Stop making excuses. He sent me by this night with a sense of urgency for whomever has eyes to see and ears to hear, to tell you that this is a mu'adah. Time is running out. This is a mu'adah. And we must aggressively chase perfection. We must aggressively chase it. We must aggressively chase all of the ruach that he can muster in us so that we can be perfect, even as he is perfect. This is not a game. Your very lives are at stake. Your very lives are at stake. Stop making excuses. Your excuses are a stench in his nostrils. Stop making them. We must be perfect. We must aggressively chase perfection. And we have an example through the example of our righteous fathers that he's been giving us. And through the example of Yahushua HaMashiach himself, Yahuwah in flesh, we have examples to show us that it is possible. Perfection is impossible in flesh. It is, provided that we walk not according to the flesh, but according to the Ruach. But according to the Ruach. I pray, Abba, it is my prayer that your people are heeding your words and that they will quit making excuses. Quit making excuses thinking that this somehow is a game. That this somehow is a game. And that they can lackadaisically approach it. That they can casually approach it. Living in the lies of this world that perfection is not possible. I pray that they now understand that perfection not only is possible, but it is mandatory. It is mandatory. So Abba wanted me to lay that groundwork. He wanted me to lay that groundwork before we move on to Jasher. And we're going to start now in Jasher, the 27th chapter, continuing this ancient path and looking at the examples of our righteous fathers and understanding now that Yahuwah demands perfection. And not only does he demand perfection, but perfection is possible. Perfection, it is possible. Chapter 27 of Jasher. And also at that time, after the death of Abraham, frequently went into the field to hunt. And Namrud, sovereign of Babal, the same was Amraphel, also frequently went with his mighty men. Just one second. Turn this a little bit. YAHUAH. And Namrud, sovereign of Babal, the same was Amraphel, also frequently went with his mighty men to hunt in the field and to walk about with his men in the cool of the day. Now what you're going to notice here is that Namrud was also a hunter. It says as much in Genesis chapter 10. What you will find is that Esau was also a hunter. Why? Because they were related. They're of the same seed. They're the very same seed. They have the very same father. Both of them have the very same father. They are seed of the wicked one. They are both seed of the wicked one. There's only two seed. There's only two seed of mankind. Either you're a good seed or you're a wicked seed. There is no in between. Just like there is no gray area, just like there is no shade, either there's light or there's darkness. Even shade is darkness. Even shade is darkness. There is no in between. Either there's light or there's darkness. Either there's the narrow path or there's the broad path. Or there's the broad path. If we're making excuses talking about we're not perfect, you're on that broad path. You're on that broad path. You may have 1 foot on the narrow path, but even if you have 1 foot on the narrow path and 1 foot on the broad path, you may as well be all in the broad path, because you're still walking in darkness. Either you're all in or not. Either you're all in or not. Either you're seed of the wicked one or you're seed of Yahuwah. There is no in between. And the seed of Yahuwah, we walk the ancient path. We walk the narrow path. We obey our Father in perfection. The seed of the wicked one, they make excuses. Either they make excuses or they disregard the Torah entirely. There's only two seed of men. Two seed of men. The good seed and the wicked seed. The first Adam and the second Adam. Esau and Jacob. There's only two seed of men. Sheep and goat. Wheat and tares. There is no in between. There is no in between. The good seed walks the ancient path. The wicked seed walks the broad path. There is no in between. There is no in between. And all of our ancient fathers whom we've looked at thus far, they were perfect towards him. They were perfect. It is possible. Perfection is possible. Verse 3. And Namrud was observing Asa all the days, for jealousy was formed in the heart of Namrud against Asa all the days. And on a certain day Asa went in the field to hunt, and he found Namrud walking in the wilderness with his 2 men. And all his mighty men and his people were with him in the wilderness, but they removed at a distance from him, and they went from him in a different direction to hunt. And Asa concealed himself for Namrud, and he lurked for him in the wilderness. And Namrud and his men that were with him did not know him. And Namrud and his men frequently walked about in the field at the cool of the day to know where his men were hunting in the field. And Namrud and 2 of his men that were with him came to the place where they were when Asa started suddenly from his lurking place, and drew his sword, and hastened and ran to Namrud, and cut off his head. This is the beast. Namrud is the beast that is mentioned in Revelation 14, who received a deadly wound to the head, and it was healed. He is the beast that's coming up out of the pit. He is the beast. This whole system, this whole wicked Babylonian system is centered around the worship of him. It is centered around the worship of him. And he's coming back. He's coming back. And the whole world who has been worshiping him all along are going to worship him face to face when Hashatan inhabits his body. And Namrud and his men were with him, did not know him. And Namrud and his men frequently walked about in the field at night. Now verse 7. And Namrud and 2 of his men that were with him came to the place where they were, when Asa started suddenly from his lurking place, and drew his sword, and hastened, and ran to Namrud, and cut off his head. And Asa fought a desperate fight with the 2 men that were with Namrud, and when they called out to him, Asa turned to them, and smote them to death with his sword. And all the mighty men of Namrud, who had left him to go to the wilderness, heard the cry at a distance. And they knew the voices of those 2 men, and they ran to know the cause of it, when they found their sovereign and the 2 men that were with him lying dead in the wilderness. And when Asa saw the mighty men of Namrud coming at a distance, he fled and thereby escaped. And Asa took the valuable garments of Namrud, which Namrud's father had bequeathed to Namrud, and with which Namrud prevailed over the whole land. And he ran and concealed them in his house. Now these garments were the garments of Adam and Korah. That Yahuwah, these are the animals that Yahuwah slew for them and covered them when their nakedness was revealed. And he slew 2 animals, 2 lambs, and he covered their nakedness. And when he covered their nakedness, because they had fallen, these skins then gave them power and authority over the animals and prevented the animals from overcoming them. And so when Noah entered the ark, he received these garments from Methuselah. Methuselah had given him these garments. He received these garments from Methuselah. And on the ark, his son Ham Akam stole these garments from him. Stole these garments from him and gave him to his firstborn son, Cush. Gave him to his firstborn son, Cush. Cush then gave them to Namrud, gave him to Nimrod, and Nimrod became a mighty hunter, and he was able to subdue all the animals on the earth and mankind. And mankind. He became a mighty hunter. It says here that now Esau has stolen these very garments. No wonder that the seed of Esau is running and pilfering and destroying this world even as we speak. Even as we speak, whether they're black, white, or otherwise, they are destroying this earth as we speak. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. They were born for destruction. They were born for war. Their father he wasn't born for destruction, but since the fall, that's who he is. He's the wicked one. Destruction follows him, and all of his children, destruction follows them. Verse 10. And when Esau saw the mighty men of Namrud coming at a distance, he fled and thereby escaped. And Esau took the valuable garments of Namrud, which Namrud's father had bequeathed to Namrud, and with which Namrud prevailed over the whole land. Prevailed over the whole land. You see, I'm one to believe every word that proceeds from the mouth of Yahuwah. And I don't believe that it's any coincidence that the seed of Esau, that the seed of Esau is he who is controlling this world. He controls the wars. He controls the armies. He controls the lands and the nations. It is no coincidence that Esau took these garments and prevailed over the old that Namrud had, and which he used to prevail over the whole land, and in which the seed of Esau, I cannot say that they're using this to prevail over the whole land, but it would make sense that they would still have these garments and are continuing to prevail over the whole earth. Verse 11. And Esau took these garments and ran into the city on account of Namrud's men. And he came into his father's house wearied and exhausted from flight. And he was ready to die through grief when he approached his brother Yaqub and sat before him. And he said unto his brother Yaqub, Behold, I shall die this day, and wherefore then do I want the birthright? And Yaqub acted with Kakam with Esau in this matter. And Esau sold his birthright to Yaqub, for it was so brought about by Yahuwah. For it was so brought about by Yahuwah. He sold his birthright for food. He sold his birthright for a morsel. For a morsel. He sold his birthright for a morsel. You see, those who are in the ancient path, we understand what? That man does not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds from the mouth of Yahuwah. We understand this, and we're not going to sell our birthright for some morsel of food. We would rather die first. We would rather die first than to sell our birthright for a morsel of food. We would rather do so. We would rather fast than sell our birthright for a morsel of food. Barak Yahuwah. Barak Yahuwah. And he said unto his brother Yaqub, Behold, I shall die this day, and wherefore then do I want the birthright? And Yaqub acted with Kakam with Esau in this matter. And Esau sold his birthright to Yaqub, for it was so brought about by Yahuwah. And Esau's portion in the cave of the field of Machpelah, which Abraham had bought from the children of Koth for the possession of a burial ground, Esau also sold to Yaqub, and Yaqub bought all this from his brother Esau for value given. And Yaqub wrote the whole of this in a sefer, and he testified the same with witnesses, and he sealed it. And the sefer remained in the hands of Yaqub. He used Chokmah. This is another benchmark, or another characteristic of someone operating in the ancient path. They have Chokmah. They use Chokmah. And when Namrud, the son of Cush, died, his men lifted him up and brought him in consternation and buried him in his city. And all the days that Namrud lived for 215 years, and he died. And the days that Namrud reigned upon the people of the land were 185 years, and Namrud died by the sword of Esau, in shame and contempt. And the seed of Abraham caused his death, as he had seen in his dream. Indeed, this is going to continue. The seed of Abraham, even in this time, even in this season, even when the Hamashiach comes back, is going to cause the death of the seed of Asa, of the seed of the wicked one. And at the death of Namrud, his reign became divided into many divisions, and all those parts that Namrud reigned over were restored to the respective sovereigns of the land, who recovered them after the death of Namrud. And all the people of the house of Namrud were for a long time enslaved for all the other sovereigns of the land. I only read chapter 27 for the purposes of adding context as to why Namrud sold his birthright, to add more context as to why Namrud sold his birthright. But I really want to get into chapter 28 and chapter 29 of Yashar. Now, reading chapter 28. And in those days after the death of Abraham, in that year, Yahuwah brought a heavy famine in the land. And while the famine was raging in the land of Canaan, Ishkak rose up to go down to Mashraim on account of the famine, as his father Abraham had done. And Yahuwah appeared that night to Ishkak and said to him, do not go down to Mashraim, but rise and go to Gerar, to Abimelech, sovereign of the Philistine, and remain there till the famine, shall cease. And what did Ishkak do? Ishkak rose up and went to Gerar. He obeyed the voice of Yahuwah perfectly. And Ishkak rose up and went to Gerar as Yahuwah commanded him. He obeyed perfectly. And he remained there a full year. And when Ishkak came to Gerar, the people of the land saw that Rebekah, his woman, was of a beautiful appearance. And the people of Gerar asked Ishkak concerning his woman. And he said, see, she is my sister. For he was afraid to say she was his woman, lest the people of the land should slay him on account of her. And the princes of Abimelech went and praised the woman to the sovereign, but he answered them not, neither did he attend to their words. But he heard them say that Ishkak declared her to be his sister. So the sovereign reserved this within himself. And when Ishkak had remained 3 months in the land, Abimelech looked out at the window, and he saw, and behold, Ishkak was sporting with Rebekah his woman. For Ishkak dwelt in the outer house belonging to the sovereign, so that the house of Ishkak was opposite the house of the sovereign. You see, Ishkak was a great man. He was a great man because Abba had favored him. His father Abraham was great, but the riches of Ishkak surpassed his father Abraham. Surpassed the riches of his father Abraham because he was upright. He was upright and perfect before Elohim, and Yahuwah baruch him for the sake of his father. For the sake of his father walked perfectly towards him, and he walked perfectly towards him, and he baruch him for the sake of his father, and his riches and his esteem exceeded even those of his father Abraham. Verse 8, and ours can do is the esteem that Yahuwah wants to bestow on us. The esteem that he wants to bestow on us can exceed the esteem of our father Abraham. Did he not say that greater works that we would do because he goes to the Father? Yes, he did. The esteem of this latter generation can exceed the esteem even of our father Abraham if we desperately chase perfection in the way that they did. Yes, it can. Yes, it can. And the sovereign said unto Ishkak, what is this you have done to us in saying of your woman, she is my sister? How easily might one of the great men of the people have lain with her, and you would have then have brought guilt upon us. And Ishkak said unto Abimelech, because I was afraid lest I die on account of my woman. Therefore I said, she is my sister. At that time Abimelech gave orders to all his princes and great men, and they took Ishkak and Rebekah his woman, and brought them before the sovereign. And the sovereign commanded that they should dress them in princely garments, and make them ride through the streets of the city, and proclaim before them throughout the land, saying, this is the man, and this is his woman. Whoever touches this man or his woman shall surely die. And Ishkak returned with his woman to the sovereign's house, and Yahuwah was with Ishkak. And he continued to wax great and lacked nothing. Why was he with Ishkak? Because Ishkak walked perfectly towards him. Because Ishkak walked perfectly towards him in the same ways in which his father had walked. He walked perfectly towards him. And so Yahuwah favored him, and he waxed great in the land. And he was esteemed among the people because he esteemed Abba. And he walked upright and perfect towards him. And Yahuwah caused Ishkak to find favor in the sight of Abimelech. He would cause us to have favor, he would cause us to receive favor and to find favor before all men. Before all men, if we walk perfect towards him. He would cause us to receive favor in the sight of all men and in the sight of all his subjects. And Abimelech acted well with Ishkak, for Abimelech remembered the oath and the covenant that existed between his father and Abraham. And Abimelech said unto Ishkak, behold, the whole earth is before you. Dwell wherever it may seem good in your sight, until you shall return to your land. And Abimelech gave Ishkak fields and vineyards in the best part of the land of Gerar, to sow and reap and to eat the fruits of the ground until the days of the famine should have passed. I'm going to read this again. And Abimelech said unto Ishkak, behold, the whole earth is before you. Indeed it is. The whole earth belonged to Ishkak, because Ishkak is seed of Adam. Ishkak is seed of Adam, and through the seed of Ishkak, the whole earth is being restored to the seed of Adam. Dwell wherever it may seem good in your sight, until you shall return to your land. And Abimelech gave Ishkak fields and vineyards, and the best part of the land of Gerar, to sow and reap and eat the fruits of the ground, until the days of the famine should have passed by. Because this is what's due. This is what is due to the seed of Ishkak and Abraham anyway. This is what's due to us. This is what is due to the son of Elohim, the best part of the earth. This is our due. This is our due. And so Yahuwah moved him to give to Ishkak what was his due in the first place. And so if we receive the favor of men, if we receive the barakut of men, this is ours anyway. Did he not say, I will barak those who barak you and curse those who curse you? This is ours anyway. If we walk the ancient path and walk perfectly towards him, this is ours anyway. It belongs to us. It belongs to us. Barak Yahuwah. Verse 14. And Ishkak sowed in that land and received 100-fold in the same year. And Yahuwah baruch him. And the man waxed great, and he had possessions of flocks and possessions of herds, and great store of service. And when the days of the famine had passed away, Yahuwah appeared to Ishkak and said unto him, rise up, go forth from this place, and return to your land, to the land of Canaan. And Ishkak did what? He rose up and returned to Cabrum, which is in the land of Canaan, he and all belonging to him as what? As Yahuwah commanded him. As Yahuwah commanded him. He obeyed every word that proceeded from the mouth of his father. He was perfect. He was perfect. He is another example that it is possible to be perfect. It is possible to be perfect. It is possible to obey every word that proceeds from the mouth of Yahuwah. Verse 17. After this, Shalach, the son of Arpachshad, died in that year, which is the 18th year of the lives of Yaqub and Esau. And all the days that Shalach lived were 433 years, and he died. At that time, Ishkak sent his younger son Yaqub to the house of Sham in Abba, and he learned the instructions of Yahuwah. And Yaqub remained in the house of Sham and Abba for 32 years. And Esau, his brother, did not go, for he was not willing to go. And he remained in his father's house in the land of Canaan. Here is another characteristic. Those who are seed of Yahuwah, we long for the instructions of Yahuwah. We want to learn the instructions of Yahuwah. We don't say that these ancient path teachings are boring. We receive them as words of life. We receive them as instructions for living. We receive them as words of life, as if we obey them, if we If we walk this path, then we will live. They are indeed words of life. They're not boring. We can't get enough of the instructions of Yahuwah. This is the son of Yahuwah. This is the true seed of Yaqub. But the seed of Esau, what does it say? And Esau, his brother, did not go, for he was not willing to go, and he remained in his father's house in the land of Canaan. He didn't want the instructions of Yahuwah. He didn't want them. Some say they want the instructions of Yahuwah until they become hard. And some say they want the instructions of Yahuwah. But when it comes to producing fruit, their fruit tell the story. Because you can listen to the words of Yahuwah all you want. You can listen to the words of Yahuwah 24 hours a day. If you're not bearing fruit, you may as well not listen to the words. You may as well not listen to them. Again, I say, he demands perfection. He demands perfection. And Esau was continually hunting in the fields to bring home what he could get. So did Esau all the days. And Esau was deciding. And Esau was a designing and deceitful man. And Esau was a designing and deceitful man. If you got any deceit in you, if you got any deceit in you, if you have any deceit in you and you are not convicted by the deceit that is in you, you are a seed of Esau. You are a seed of the wicked one. You are a seed of the wicked one. No falsehood is found in the bride of the Lamb. No falsehood is found in the 144,000. No falsehood is found in this seed. No falsehood. Perfection. No deceitfulness. No falsehood is found in them. And it says here, and Esau was a designing and deceitful man, one who hunted after the hearts of men. One who hunted after the hearts of men, akin to his father, whom he killed, Namrud, and akin to his father, Hashatan. Hashatan, one who hunted after the hearts of men. This is what Hashatan does. And inveigled them. And Esau was a valiant man in the field, and in the course of time went as usual to hunt. And he came as far as the field of Sair, the same as Adum. And he remained in the land of Sair, hunting in the field 1 year and 4 months. And also there saw in the field of Sair the daughter of a man of Canaan, and her name was Yahudah, the daughter of Bar-Ari, son of Aphar, from the families of Kaf, the son of Canaan. And also took her for a woman, and he came unto her. 40 years old was Esau when he took her, and he brought her to Gabrum, the land of his father's dwelling place, and he dwelt there. So also, seed of Esau, and Esau cares nothing for the instructions of Yahuwah. He cares nothing that he was not to take he was not to take a wife from the seed of the daughters of Canaan. He did the exact opposite. He did the exact opposite. And Abba has sent me by to tell you that unless you are walking this path perfectly, you may as well not be walking it at all. Because he demands perfection. Do not say in your heart, well, I ain't like that. I'm not like Esau. When in your heart you making excuses talking about I'm not perfect. Talking about that I can't be perfect. You may as well get on the broad path if that's your thought pattern. Because he demands perfection. He demands it. And he will accept nothing less. He won't accept anything less. Verse 22, verse 20, 23. And also took for a woman, and he came unto her, verse 24 rather. And it came to pass in those days, in the 110th year of the life of Ishkak, that is the 50th year of the life of Yaqub, in that year died Sham, the son of Nuach. Sham was 600 years old at his death. So you see, Yaqub not only learned how to be perfect from his father Ishkak and from his grandfather Abraham, but he learned from who taught them. He learned from Sham, the son of Nuach, and Eba, who learned from Nuach, who learned from Kanuk, and who learned from Methuselah, and who learned from all of the other righteous fathers who did what? who walked perfectly, and upright towards Yahuwah. All of them walked upright and perfectly towards Yahuwah. And it came to pass in those days, in the 110th year of the life of Ishkak, that is, in the 50th year of the life of Yakub, in that year died Sham, the son of Nuach. Sham was 600 years old at his death. And when Sham died, Yakub returned to his father to Kabroon, which is in the land of Canaan. And in the 56th year of the life of Yakub, people came from Haran, and Rebekah was told concerning her brother Laban, the son of Bethuel. For the woman Laban was barren in those days, and bore no children, and also all his handmaids bore none to him. And Yahuwah afterwards remembered Adinah, the woman of Laban, and she conceived and bore twin daughters. And Laban called the names of his daughters, the name of the elder La'ah, and the name of the younger Rachel. Indeed, they were twins. And those people came and told these things to Rebekah, and Rebekah celebrated greatly that Yahuwah has visited her brother, and that he had got children. Chapter 28. 29. Chapter 29, my bad. Barak Yahuwah, chapter 29. Okay, Barak Yahuwah, chapter 29. This will be the last chapter. Jasher, chapter 29. And Ishkak, the son of Abraham, became old and advanced in days. And his eyes became heavy through age, and they were dim and could not see. At that time Ishkak called unto Asa his son, saying, Get, I pray you, weapons, your quiver and your bow. Rise up and go forth into the field, and get me some venison, and make me savory meat, and bring it to me, that I may eat, in order that I may barak you before my death, as I have now become old and gray. And we understand that this barakah that he's getting ready to give him is the firstborn barakah that Asa despised. The firstborn barakah that comes with inheritance. That comes with what? The inheritance of everlasting life. That comes with the inheritance of the earth. This is what the firstborn barakah comes along with. The title, a distinction of firstborn. It comes with a barakah. And ultimately, that barakah is eternal life. That barakah is the possessions of the Father. Because only the firstborn are going to enter into life. No one else is going to enter into life. Only the firstborn are going to enter into life, those who are born of Yahuwah. As we read here now in the 48th chapter of Genesis. As we read here in the 48th chapter of Genesis. And after these events, it came to be that it was said to Yahusuf, See, your father is sick. And he took with him his two sons, Manasseh and Ephraim. And Yakub was told, See, your son, Yahusuf, is coming to you. And Yasha'al strengthened himself and sat up on the bed. And Yakub said to Yahusuf, All Shaddai appeared to me at Luz in the land of Canaan and Baruch me, and said to me, See, I am making you fruitful, and shall increase you, and make you an assembly of peoples, and give this land to your seed after you as an everlasting possession. How long is everlasting?
Forever.
And now,
Forever.
And now, your two sons, Ephraim and Manasseh, who were born to you in the land of Mashraim before I came to you in Mashraim, are mine. As Ra'uban and Shama'un, they are mine. Your offspring, whom you shall bring forth after them, are yours. And let them be called by the name of their brothers in their inheritance. And I, when I came from Padan, Rachel died beside me in the land of Canaan on the way, when there was but a little distance to go to Ephrath. And I buried her there on the way to Ephrath, that is by Lakam, Bethlehem. And Yasha'al saw Yahusuf's sons and said, Who are these? And Yahusuf said to his father, They are my sons, whom Elohim has given me in this place. And he said, Please bring them to me, and let me barak them. And the eyes of Yasha'al were dim with age, and he was unable to see. Now, why is it that he was intent upon Barak'ut or Barakah, the sons of Yahusuf, because Yahusuf had become firstborn. Yahusuf had become firstborn, and so one of his sons had to carry on the firstborn Barakah, had to carry on the inheritance, had to carry on not only the inheritance of the land, which is an everlasting possession, but they had to be custodians of the renewal of the everlasting covenant that had been passed down to firstborn sons. And so, because he had bestowed this upon Yahusuf, now that meant that one of his sons, the son of a firstborn, had to be firstborn, had to become firstborn, and a firstborn Barakah had to be bestowed upon him. And that firstborn Barakah, that everlasting inheritance, that everlasting promise, and that renewing of the everlasting covenant passed all the way down through the sons of Jacob, all the way down to it reached the firstborn of Maryam and Yahusuf, who Yahuwah coming in the flesh of Yahushua HaMashiach, and which through the everlasting covenant and the everlasting inheritance has been both sealed and renewed once and for all, forever. And it reads here, and Yasha also Yahusuf's sons and said, who are these? And Yahusuf said to his father, they are my sons, whom Elohim has given me in this place. And he said, please bring them to me, and let me barak them. And the eyes of Yasha'al were dim with age, and he was unable to see. And he drew them near him, and he kissed them and embraced them. And Yasha'al said to Yahusuf, I had not thought to see your face, but see, Elohim has also shown me your seed. So Yahusuf brought them from between his knees, and he bowed down with his face to the earth. And Yahusuf took them both, Ephraim, and with his right hand towards, let me read this again. And Yahusuf took them both, Ephraim with his right hand toward Yahusuf, towards Yasha'al's left hand, because he was the younger, and Manasseh with his left hand towards Yasha'al's right hand, and brought them near him. And Yasha'al stretched out his right hand and laid it on Ephraim's head, who was the younger, and his left hand on Manasseh's head, consciously directing his hands, for Manasseh was the firstborn. Why did he do this? Because he was discerning, and he understood that Ephraim was more like his father than Manasseh. As he understood that Yahusuf was more like him than Reuben. As it was understood, as Abraham understood that Yaqub was more like Ishaq and more like him than Asa. And by extension, understanding that he as firstborn was more like Yahuwah, looked more like Yahuwah, talked more like Yahuwah, walked more like Yahuwah than any of his other sons. You see, he understood that Ephraim was perfect and would walk perfect towards Yahuwah. This is a characteristic of a firstborn son. If Yahuwah is perfect, then his firstborn son must be perfect. This is the example that Yahusha set as firstborn son, coming not as the literal firstborn son, but as a representation of his firstborn son, to show his firstborn son that we must be perfect, even as our Father is perfect, and to show his firstborn son that perfection is possible, that it is possible. So if we are to have the distinction as being firstborn sons, we must be like our righteous forefathers. We must be like Yahusha. We must be like Yahuwah. We must be perfect even as he is perfect. Nothing else would be accepted. Nothing else will do. And so he chose Ephraim. He chose Ephraim because he discerned that Ephraim was perfect, that Ephraim was the firstborn. In the same way that Abraham discerned that Jacob was going to be firstborn and not Asa. It's the same way that Jacob discerned that Ephraim was going to be firstborn and not Manasseh. So it reads here, and I'm going to start. And Yahusuf took them both, Ephraim with his right hand toward Yashar's left hand, and Manasseh with his left hand toward Yashar'al's right hand, and brought them near him. And Yashar'al stretched out his right hand and laid it on Ephraim's head, whereby designated him firstborn, whereby saying that this one here is going to walk perfect. This one here is going to walk upright. This one here is going to walk upright, even as his father is upright. He's going to walk like that. Who was the younger, and his left hand on Manasseh's head, consciously directing his hands, for Manasseh was the firstborn. You see, Yaqub, again, we've spoken about this before. Yaqub, whose name was changed to Yashar'al, was perfect. He was perfect. And so if we are to say that we are Yashralim, and this is thrown around very loosely, if we are to say that we are Yashralim, that means that we are to be perfect. Like our father Jacob was perfect. And like our father Yahuwah is perfect. And like Yahusha walked the earth perfectly without blemish. We are to walk perfectly. If we are to carry this name as Yashralim, we are to be perfect. And he will accept nothing less. He will accept nothing less. Let me go back here. And Yashar'al stretched out his right hand and laid it on Ephraim's head, and who was the younger, and his left hand on Manasseh's head, consciously directing the hands. For Manasseh was firstborn. And he Baruch Yahusaf, and said, the Elohim before whom my fathers Abraham and Ishak walked perfectly. They walked perfectly. Walked. The Elohim who has fed me my whole life. They walked in the same way that Kanuk walked. Kanuk walked perfectly for 365 years. Yes, he did. And so did all of our righteous ancient forefathers. They walked perfectly towards him. And he's calling us to walk perfect towards him and to quit making excuses. If we are to say, if we are to assume the title of firstborn, to assume the title of Yashralim, this means that we are to be perfect. We must be perfect. The Elohim who has fed me all my life long this day, the messenger who has redeemed me from all evil, Barak the youth, and let my name be called upon them. Let them be called Yashar'al. In the name of my fathers Abraham and Ishak, who also walked perfect, who were perfect, perfect, and let them increase to a multitude in the midst of the earth. And when Yahusha saw that his father laid his hand on the head of Ephraim, it was evil in his eyes. And he took hold of his father's hand to remove it from the head of Ephraim to the head of Manasseh. And Yahusha said to his father, not so, my father, for this one is the firstborn. Put your right hand on his head. Put your right hand on his head. But his father refused and said, I know, my son, I know. He also becomes a people, and he also is great. And yet his younger brother is greater than he, and his seed is to become the completeness of the nations. The completeness of the nations. And he baruched them on that day, saying, and you, Yasha, also Barak, saying, Elohim make you as Ephraim and as Manasseh. Thus he put Ephraim before Manasseh. He made Ephraim the firstborn. And Yashar'al said to Yahusha, see, I am dying, but Elohim shall be with you and bring you back to the land of your fathers. And I have given to you one portion above your brothers, which I took from the hand of the Amarite with my sword and with my bow. Now we understand that Ephraim then became firstborn. He became Yashar'al because why? Because Yashar'al recognized the perfection that was in him. He recognized the perfection that was in him. And so then Ephraim became one of his sons. Ephraim became one of the 12 tribes. He became one of the 12 tribes. And when we read Revelation 7, we do not find Ephraim there enlisted in the 144,000. But we find Ephraim beginning in verse 9. Every tribe, nation, and tongue. Who were what? Who had washed their robes and who were perfect. I just told you that Ephraim was perfect. I just told you he was perfect. And when Ephraim comes out of the great distress, the completeness of the nation, every nation, tribe, and tongue, they are going to be perfect. He demands perfection. He demands perfection. But the 144,000, if the remnant within the remnant expects to touch down on Mount Zion, as we read in Kazun in Revelation the 14th chapter, we must be perfect now. We must be perfect. We must be perfect. Don't you go away from listening to this message and thinking that you can make excuses. If you think you can make excuses, you're going to be destroyed. Either you're going to be destroyed to keep you from having your crime stack up to Shamayim, or he's going to let you go to the great distress so that you'll be perfect out of that. Don't you take this warning lightly. He demands perfection. He demands perfection. Reading here in Jubilees, the 22nd chapter, verse 10 through 30. I don't have it here, but I'm going to. I have this in my notes for some reason. Can you read Jubilees, chapter 22, and read verse 10 through 30?
22.
Actually, no, I've already read that. We read that last. No, I didn't. Did I get the chapter?
You said Jubilees 22.
Read verse 10 through 30.
And he called Jacob and said, My son Jacob, may the Elohim of all baruch you and strengthen you to do righteousness and his will before him. And may he choose you and your seed, that ye may become a people for his inheritance, according to his will always. And do you, my son Jacob, draw near and kiss me. And he drew near and kissed him. And he said, Baruch be my son Jacob and all the sons of El Elyon unto all the ages. May Elohim give you a seed of righteousness, and some of your sons may he sanctify in the midst of the whole Eretz. May nations serve you, and all the nations bow themselves before your seed. Be strong in the presence of men, and exercise authority over all the seed of Sheth. Then your ways and the ways of your sons will be justified, so that they shall become a Kadosh nation. May Al Elyon give you all the barakah wherewith he has baruch me, and wherewith he baruch Noach and Adam. May the rest on all the sacred head of your seed from generation to generation forever. And may he cleanse you from all unrighteousness and impurity, that you may be forgiven all the transgressions which you have committed ignorantly. And may he strengthen you and baruch you, and may you inherit the whole Eretz. And may he renew his covenant with you, that you may be to him a nation for his inheritance for all the ages, and that he may be to you and to your seed and Elohim in truth and righteousness throughout all the days of the Eretz. And do you, my son Jacob, remember my words and observe the commandments of Abraham your father. Separate yourself from the nations and eat not with them, and do not according to their works, and become not their associate. For their works are unclean, and all their ways are a pollution and an abomination and an uncleanness. They offer their sacrifices to the dead, and they worship evil rakufs, and they eat over the graves, and all their works are vanity and nothingness. They have no heart to understand, and their eyes do not see what their works are, and how they err in saying to a piece of wood, You are my Elohim, and to a stone you are my Adonai, and you are my deliverer, and they have no heart. As for you, my son Jacob, may Al-Yun help you, and the Elohim of Shamayim baruch you, and remove you from the uncleanness and from all their error. Be ye ware, my son Jacob, of taking a woman from any seed of the daughters of Canaan, for all his seed is to be rooted out of the Eretz. For owing to the transgression of Canaan, Aaron and all his seed shall be destroyed from all the Eretz, and all the remnant thereof, and none springing from him shall be saved on the day of judgment. And for all the worshippers of idols and the profane, there shall be no hope for him in the land of the living, and there shall be no remembrance of them on the Eretz. For they shall descend into Shaul, and into the place of condemnation shall they go. As the children of Sidon were taken away from the Eretz, so will all those who worship idols be taken away. Fear not, my son Jacob, and be not dismayed, O son of Abraham. May Al Elyon guard you from destruction, and from all the paths of error may he deliver you. This house I have built for myself, that I might put my name upon it. In the earth it is given to you and to your seed, and it will be named the house of Abraham. It is given to you and to your seed forever. For you will build my house and establish my name before Elohim. Forever your seed and your name will stand throughout all generations of the Eretz. And he ceased commanding him and baraking him.
Barak Yahuwah. So the same thing here that Yaqub is doing to Ephraim, Abraham did to him. Abraham did to him, and he named him firstborn, and he named Adam, and I think he named Nuach, and I think he may have named someone else, but all the barakah of firstborn, this is what's passed on. This is what he's passing on when he lays his hand on Ephraim. He's passing on the firstborn barakah, which is the barakut, all the barakut of the earth, which is all the possessions of the Father eternally, all the possessions of the Father, and also via the firstborn, the renewing of the everlasting covenant is made, which he spoke here in Jubilees chapter 22. May Yahuwah renew his covenant with you. His covenant is only renewed with firstborn sons. It is only renewed with firstborn sons. It is renewed with us when his Ruach enters us. When his Ruach enters us and we become born from above, we then become firstborn sons. And when his Ruach enters us and circumcises our hearts, which is what? Which is a sign of the everlasting covenant. The circumcision is a sign of the everlasting covenant. When he enters into us and circumcises our heart, then the everlasting covenant becomes renewed in us. Renewed in us. And without this, we cannot be perfect. Without this, we cannot be perfect. And if we're not firstborn sons, we will not inherit. We will not inherit. So we understand, just to give you a brief breakdown here, that the name Yahusuf means Yahuwah has added. Yahuwah has added. Ephraim, it means I shall be doubly fruitful. I shall be doubly fruitful. So in Yahusuf, so this is strategic. This is why Yahusuf became firstborn. This is why Yahusuf became firstborn. His name means Yahuwah has added. And so the barakut are being added through Yahusuf. The firstborn barakut are being added. And now with Ephraim, it means, his name means I shall be doubly fruitful. I shall be doubly fruitful. Why is that significant? Well, first of all, Ephraim is firstborn. He is firstborn. But why else is that significant? Let's read here in Deuteronomy, the 21st chapter, verses 15 through 17. When a man has two wives, one loved, the other unloved, and they have borne him children, both the loved and the unloved, the firstborn son is of her who is unloved. Then it shall be, on the day he makes his sons to inherit his possession, he is not allowed to treat the son of the beloved wife as firstborn in the face of the son of the unloved, who is truly the firstborn. But he is to acknowledge the son of the unloved wife as the firstborn by giving him a double portion of all that he has. And thus Ephraim means it means doubly fruitful. It means doubly fruitful. So in other words, the firstborn son of Yahuwah, who is Ephraim, who is Yashar'al, is going to receive a double portion of all the possessions of our father. A double portion of all the possessions of our Father, provided that we are perfect and upright before him. For he is the beginning of his strength. The right of the firstborn is his. The right of the firstborn is his. Now reading here, actually I'm going to skip that. I'm going to keep reading that just to give you more concept. I'm going to read here in Deuteronomy now chapter 33 verses 13 through 17. Yahusuf is an offshoot of a fruit-bearing tree, an offshoot of a fruit-bearing tree by a fountain. His branches run over a wall, and the archers has bitterly grieved him, shot at him, and hated him. But his bow remained in strength, and the arms, actually this is Genesis chapter 49, and his arms and the arms of his hands were made strong by the hands of the mighty one of Yaakov. From there is the shepherd the stone of Yasha'al, from the awe of your father who helps you, and by the Almighty who barakut you, with barakut of the Shamayim from above, barakut of the deep that lies beneath, barakut of the beasts of the womb. The barakut of your father have excelled the barakut of my ancestors, up to the limit of the everlasting hills. They are on the head of Yahusha, and on the crown of the head of him who was separated from his brothers. If you can understand, these are the barakut of a firstborn, who walks perfectly before his father, who is perfect as his father is perfect. Let's look at now Deuteronomy chapter 33, verses 13 through 17. This is Masha speaking the same barakut. And of Yahusha he said, Baruch of Yahuwah is his land, with the choicest from the Shamayim, with the dew and the deep lying beneath, with the choice fruits of the sun, with the choice yield of the monks, with the finest of the ancient mountains, with the choicest of the everlasting hills, with the choicest of the earth and all that fills it, and the good pleasure of him who dwelt in the bush. Let it come on the head of Yahusha, on the crown of the head of him who was separate from his brothers. His splendor is like a firstborn bull, and his horns are like the horns of the wild ox. With them he pushes the peoples to the ends of the earth, and they are the 10,000s of Ephraim, who is also firstborn. So there's a barakut, a great barakut that comes with the distinction of firstborn, with having the distinction of firstborn. It is an everlasting barakut. And everlasting life comes along with the firstborn barakah. Now, why do I say this? This is what Esau gave up. This is what he gave up. He gave up everlasting life. Yes, he did. He gave up everlasting life, which is the barakah of firstborn. Having a double portion of what all of the Father owns, and having everlasting life, but walking perfectly as the Father. I mean, to have the distinction as firstborn, that means, again, that you look more like Yahuwah, you talk more like him, you act more like him than anyone else. You have to have this distinction. You must be perfect as he is perfect in order to be considered firstborn. And so Esau did not want this. He did not want the inheritance. He did not want the double portion. He did not want everlasting life. And so all who do not walk perfectly, who think that they do not have to walk perfectly as our Father is perfect, you are no different than Esau. You are no different than Esau, walking that broad path that leads to destruction. Because again, the barakah on the distinction of firstborn, everlasting life comes with the distinction of being firstborn. It doesn't belong to anyone else. And if you are firstborn, you must be perfect. As our fathers were perfect, as these firstborn sons were perfect, our fathers were perfect, and as Yahusha was perfect, and as Yahuwah is perfect, we must be perfect. In order to have the distinction as firstborn, and in order to have the barakah that goes along with having the distinction of firstborn, which is everlasting life, and a double portion of everything that our Father owns. Verse 3. And Esau did so, and he took his weapon, and went forth into the field to hunt venison, as usual, to bring to his father, as he ordered him, so that he might barak him. And Rebekah heard all the words that Ishak had spoken to Esau, and she hastened and called her son Jacob, saying, Thus did your father speak to your brother Esau, and thus did I hear. Now therefore hasten you, and make that which I tell you. And she was being obedient to Abraham. Abraham told her to do this, because Abraham designated Jacob as firstborn, because when Abraham looked at Jacob, he saw himself. He saw himself in Jacob. He saw perfection. And as we read last Shabbat, Jacob was pure. He was pure and he was perfect. He was pure and he was perfect. Yahusha was pure and perfect. Abraham was pure and perfect. Ishak, pure and perfect. Eber, pure and perfect. Sham, pure and perfect. Nuach, pure and perfect. Adam was born pure and perfect. Yes, he was. Yes, he was. He was born pure and perfect. Habal, pure and perfect. Sheth, Ashaf, pure and perfect. All the way down to Kainan and Kanuk, pure and perfect. Methuselah, pure and perfect. Yahusuf, as we continue in this study, we're going to study Yahusuf. He was pure and perfect. Pure and perfect. Ephraim, pure and perfect. Pure and perfect. And so Abraham commanded Rebekah to do this for his son, Yaqub, because he was pure and perfect. And through him would be born a pure and perfect seed who would what? Inherit everlasting life. Who would inherit everlasting life. Only the perfect, only the upright and perfect are going to inherit everlasting life. I pray you're getting this. This is not a game. This is not a game. This walk is hard. This path is hard. It is hard. And we must perfectly walk it. That's why it's hard. That's why it's hard. And so she was obedient to the words of her father, Abraham. Verse 5. Rise up and go, I pray you, to the flock and fetch me two kids of goats, and I will get the savory meat for your father. And you shall bring the savory meat that he may eat before your brother shall have come from the chase, in order that your father may barak you with the firstborn barakah. And Yaqub hastened and did as his mother had commanded him. And he made the savory meat and brought it before his father, before Esau had come from his chase. Again, honor thy father and thy mother. And he obeyed. Verse 7. And Ishkak said unto Yaqub, who are you, my son? And he said, I am your firstborn, Esau. I have done as you did order me. Now therefore rise up, I pray you, and eat of my hunt, in order that your soul, that your nafash may barak me, as you did speak unto me. And Ishkak rose up, and he ate, and he drank, and his heart was comforted. And he baruch Yaqub with a firstborn barakah. And Yaqub went away from his father. And as soon as Ishkak had baruch Yaqub, he had gone away from him, behold, Esau came from his hunt, from the field, and he also made savory meat, and brought it to his father to eat thereof, and to barak him. I'm going to read here another precept from Barashif, chapter 27. And I'm going to read verse 1 through 29 as a precept to verse 8. And it came to be when Ishkak was old and his eyes were too dim to see, that he called Esau his elder son and said to him, my son. And he answered him, here I am. And he said, see now, I am old. I do not know the day of my death. Now then, please take your weapons, your quiver, and your bow, and go out to the field and hunt wild game for me, and make me a tasty dish, such as I love, and bring it to me to eat, in order that my being does barak you before I die, with the firstborn barakah, in which he had received from his father Abraham. And Rebekah heard when Ishkak spoke to Esau his son. And Esau went to the field to hunt wild game, and to bring it. And Rebekah spoke to Yaqub her son, saying, see, I heard your father speak to Esau your brother, saying, bring me wild game, and bring me a tasty dish to eat, and barak you in the presence of Yahuwah before my death. And now, my son, listen to my voice according to what I command you. Please go to the flock and bring me 2 choice young goats, and I make a tasty dish from them for your father, such as he loves. And he shall take it, and you shall take it to your father, and he shall eat it, so that he might barak you before his death. And Yaqub said to Rebekah his mother, see, Esau my brother is a hairy man, and I am a smooth-skinned man. What if my father touches me? What if my father touches me? If you understand something here, Esau and Yaqub, they looked just alike. They were identical twins. They looked just alike. The only thing that separated them was one was hairy and one was smooth. But they looked just alike. And so no different than today, when the wheat are growing up with the tares, when a tare is growing up with a wheat, it looks just like wheat until it becomes full grown. Then you're able to make the distinction. And this is when the separation is going to be made between Yaqub and Esau. in the end of the age, when we are able to discern or determine who is wheat and who is tare. But many who are tares look like wheat, because tares look like wheat until they reach full maturity. No different than Yaqub and Esau. They look just alike. They were identical twins. They were identical twins. We identify them. We identify them by the fruit. We identify them by the fruit. See, Esau, my brother, is a hairy man, and I'm a smooth-skinned man. What if my father touches me? Then I shall be like a deceiver in his eyes, and shall bring a curse on myself and not a barakah. But his mother said to him, let your curse be on me, my son. Only obey my voice, and go get them for me. And what did he do? He obeyed the voice of his mother. Obey thy father and thy mother. He obeyed the voice of his mother. And he went and fetched them and brought them to his mother. And his mother made a tasty dish such as his father loved. And Rebekah took the best garments of her eldest son Esau, which were with her in the house, and put them on Yaqub, her younger son. And she put the skins of the young goats on his hands and on the smooth part of his neck. Then she gave the tasty dish and the bread which she had prepared into the hand of her son Yaqub. And he went to his father and said, my father. And he said, here I am. Who are you, my son? And Yaqub said to his father, I am Esau, your firstborn. I have done as you said to me. Please rise, sit, and eat of my wild game, so that your being might barak me. But Ishkak said to his son, how is it that you have found it so quickly, my son? And he said, because Yahuwah Elohim, your Elohim, brought it to me. Then Ishkak said to Yaqub, please come near, so that I feel you, my son, whether you truly are my son Esau or not. And Yaqub went near to Ishkak his father, and he felt him and said, the voice is the voice of Yaqub, but the hands are the hands of Esau. And he did not recognize him, for his hands were hairy like his brother's Esau's hands. And he baruch him. And he baruch him. And he baruch him. And he baruch him. Let me go back. And he said, the voice is the voice of Yaqub, but the hands are the hands of Esau. And he did not recognize him, for his hands were hairy like his brother Esau's hand. And he baruch him with the firstborn barakah. And he said, are you truly my son Esau? And he said, I am. And he said, bring it near to me, and let me eat of my son's wild game, so that my being might barak you. So he brought it near to him, and he ate. And he brought him wine, and he drank. And his father Ishkak said to him, listen, please come near and kiss me, my son. And he came near and kissed him, and he smelled the smell of his garments, and baruch him, and said, see, the smell of my son is like the smell of the field which Yahuwah has baruch. And Elohim give you of the dew of the Shamayim. And Elohim give you of the dew of the Shamayim, of the fatness of the earth, and plenty of grain and wine. Let people serve you. Let people serve you, and nations bow down to you. Be master over your brothers, and let your mother's sons bow down to you. Cursed be those cursing you, and Baruch be those barakah you. Indeed, the seed of Yaqub is going to rule the earth. It's going to rule the earth with a rod of iron. He's going to sit and rule with the Hamashiach for 1,000 years. And the reign of the earth is going to be restored to his firstborn son, which was given to Adam in the beginning. The reign of the earth, the rulership of the earth, is going to be restored to his firstborn son, provided that his firstborn son overcomes and walks perfectly, like our father Yaqub walked perfectly, and who also overcame. Verse 9. And Ishkak said unto Esau, and who was he that... Actually, am I in verse 9? I did read verse 9. I'm in verse 9. Verse 9. And Ishkak said unto Esau, And who is he that has taken venison and brought it before me, and brought it me before you came, and whom I did Barak? And Esau knew that his brother Jacob had done this, and the anger of Esau was kindled against his brother Jacob. They had acted thus towards him. And Esau said, Is he not rightly called Jacob? For he has supplanted me twice. He took away my birthright, and now he has taken away my barakah. And Esau wept greatly. And when Ishkak heard the voice of his son Esau weeping, Ishkak said unto Esau, What can I do, my son? Your brother came with subtlety and took away your barakah. And Esau hated his brother Jacob. And Esau hated his brother Jacob on account of the barakah that his father had given him, and his anger was greatly roused against him. We understand that Jacob's name, it means supplanter. His name, Jacob, means supplanter. Yasha'al means both prince of Elohim, and it means to rule with Elohim. It means he who has overcome with Elohim. But Jacob means supplanter. And so through Jacob, the seed of Abraham, Yahuwah is using the seed of Jacob. Through Jacob, the seed of Abraham will supplant the adversary as ruler of the earth. He will supplant the adversary as ruler of the earth. Through the seed of Jacob, the adversary is going to be supplanted. And we understand that his name was changed to Yasha'al, which means to rule with Elohim, which means prince of Elohim. And so he is being supplanted. His rulership is being supplanted by the seed of Abraham through Jacob, whose name means supplanter. And so looking here at Genesis chapter 27, verses 30 through 41. And it came to be as soon as Ishkak had finished barakah Jacob, and Jacob had hardly left the presence of Ishkak his father, that Esau his brother came in from his hunting. And he too had made a tasty dish and brought it to his father, and said to his father, Let my father rise and eat of his son's wild game, so that your being might barak me. And his father Ishkak said to him, Who are you? And he said, I am your son, your firstborn, Esau. Then Ishkak trembled exceedingly and said, Who is it then who hunted wild game and brought it to me? And I ate all it before you came. And I have Baruch him. Yes, he is Baruch. Yes, he is Baruch. When Esau heard the words of his father, he cried with an exceedingly great and bitter cry, and said to his father, Barak me too, O my father. And he said, Your brother came with deceit, and he took your barakah. You see, on that great day, they're going to cry out. Esau is going to cry out again. Barak me too, father. Barak me too. Let me in. And he is going to declare, Depart from me. I never knew you. You who work lawlessness. You see, that's the seed of Esau. That's the seed of Esau. He's going to declare the same thing again. I never knew you. But let's listen here to what Ishkak said. When Esau heard the words of his father, he cried with an exceedingly great and bitter cry, and said to his father, Barak me too, O my father. And he said, Your brother came with deceit and took your barakah, and took your barakah, and took your everlasting life, and took your everlasting life. He wasn't discerning enough to understand what he gave up, because his belly was more important than everlasting life. He said, I would rather die. I'm going to die anyway. What good is a barakah, a firstborn barakah to me? And he gave up everlasting life for a morsel of bread. And Esau said, Was his name then called Jacob? For he has caught me by the heel these 2 times. He took my birthright, and see now he has taken my barakah. Indeed, his name meaning supplanter, through the seed of Jacob, the seed of Abraham, the seed of Adam, is supplanting the adversary as ruler of this earth. And he said, Have you not reserved the barakah for me? Then Ishkak answered and said to Esau, See, I have made him your master. I have made him your master, and all his brothers I have given to him as servants. And all his brothers I have given to him as servants. and I have sustained him with grain and wine. And what then shall I do for you, my son? And Esau said to his father, have you only one barakah, my father? Barak me too, O my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. And Ishkak his father answered and said to him, see, your dwelling is of the fatness of the earth, and of the dew of the Shamayim from above. And by your sword you are to live, and serve your brother. As we read here in Matat'Yahu chapter 26, verse 52, then Yahusha said to him, return your sword to its place, for all who take the sword shall die by the sword, shall die by the sword. And so we know that all the seed of of Esau are going to die, because they live by the sword. And it shall be, when you go restless, that you shall break his yoke from his neck. And Esau hated Jacob. And Esau hated Jacob because of the barakah with which his father Baruch him. And Esau said in his heart, the days of mourning for my father draw near. Then I am going to kill my brother Jacob. I am going to kill my brother Jacob. Reading here, when it reads here, see, I have made him your master, and all his brothers I have given to him as servants. Reading here in Hazon, Revelation chapter 21, chapter 2, verse 18 through 28. And the messenger of the assembly in Thyatira write, this says the son of Elohim, who has eyes like a flame of fire, and his feet like burnished brass. I know your works, and love, and service, and belief, and your endurance. And as for your works, the last are more than the first. But I hold this against you, that you allow that woman Aizabal, who calls herself a prophetess, to teach and lead my servants astray, to commit whoring, and to eat food offered to idols. And I gave her time to repent of her whoring, and she did not repent. See, I am throwing her into a sick bed, and those who commit adultery with her into great affliction, unless they repent of their works. And I shall slay her children with death, and all the assembly shall know that I am the one searching the kidneys and hearts. And I shall give to each one according to your works. And to you I say, and to you I say, and to the rest of Thyatira, as many as do not possess this teaching, and who have not known the depths of Satan, as they call them, I am putting on you another burden. I am not putting on you another burden, but hold fast what you have until I come. And he who overcomes, and guards my words unto the end, to him I shall give authority over the nations. To him I shall give authority over the nations, over the seed of Esau, which he shall shepherd them with a rod of iron, as the potter's vessel shall be broken to pieces, as also have received from my father. And I shall give him the morning star. And I shall give him the morning star. Not only are you going to rule over the seed of Esau, this is an eternal decree. Not only are you going to rule over the seed of Esau, but I'm going to give you their father. I'm going to give you the morning star. I'm going to give you their father if you overcome. If you overcome. Indeed, it says that Esau hated his brother. Esau hated his brother, as we read here in 1 John chapter 3, verses 11 through 15. Because this is the message that you have heard from the beginning, that we should love one another, not as Cain, who was of the wicked one, and killed his brother. Not as Cain, who was of the wicked one, and killed his brother. Indeed, again, Abba has told us that either you're a seed of the wicked one or you're a seed of Yahuwah. There is no in between. And so as Cain was seed of the wicked one who wanted to kill his brother, Esau and those who are of his seed are seed of the wicked one. Are seed of the wicked one. Those who are good seed, we are firstborn sons, and we walk this path perfectly. Perfectly. Do not marvel, my brothers, if the world hates you. We know that we have passed out of death into life because we love the brothers. The one not loving his brother stays in death. Everyone hating his brother is a murderer. And you know that no murderer has everlasting life staying in him. Staying in him. Looking now at John, the 8th chapter, verse 36 through 44. John, the 8th chapter, verse 36 through 44. If then the Son makes you free, you shall be free indeed. I know that you are the seed of Abraham, but you seek to kill me, because my word has no place in you. I speak what I have seen with my father, and you do what you have heard from your father. And I speak what I have seen with my father, and you do what you have heard from your father. They answered and said to him, Abraham is our father. Yahushua said to them, if you were Abraham's children, you would do the works of Abraham. What are the works of Abraham? That we walk perfectly. That we walk perfectly. Stop making excuses. That we walk perfectly. This is the works of Abraham. That we walk perfectly. But now you seek to kill me, a man who has spoken to you the truth, which I heard from Elohim. Abraham did not do this. You do the works of your father. Then they said to him, we were not born of whoring. We have one father, Elohim. Yahushua said to them, if Elohim were your father, you would love me, for I came forth from Elohim and am here. For I have not come of myself, but he sent me. Why do you not know what I say? Because you are unable to hear my word. You are of your father, the devil, and the desires of your father you wish to do. He was a murderer from the beginning and has not stood in the truth. He was a murderer from the beginning and has not stood in the truth, because there is no truth in him. When he speaks the lie, he speaks of his own, for he is a liar and the father of it. There's only two seed, the seed of the wicked one and the good seed. There is no in between. That cuts out all excuses. That cuts out all excuses. There's only two seed, the seed of the wicked one, who is the seed of Esau, who is the seed of Cain. And there's the good seed, the firstborn son, who walks the ancient path, who walks perfectly, and who does not make excuses. Matthew chapter 13, verse 36 through 43. You don't believe me? Matthew chapter 13, verse 36 through 43. Then having sent the crowds away, Yahushua went into the house, and his taught ones came to him, saying, explain to us the parable of the darnel of the field. And he answering said to them, he who is sowing the good seed is the son of Adam, and the field is the world. And the good seed, these are the sons, firstborn sons. And the good seed, these are the sons, the firstborn sons of the rain. But the darnel are the sons of the wicked one. There are only two seed. And the enemy who sowed them is the devil. And the harvest is the end of the age. And the reapers are the messengers. As the darnel then is gathered and burned in the fire, so it shall be in the end of this age. The son of Adam shall send out his messengers, and they shall gather out of his reign all the stumbling blocks, and those doing lawlessness. Abba has already told you that we must be perfect. If you disobey one command, you disobey them all. Did not Adam disobey one command and fell from favor? He only disobeyed one command and fell from favor, but Abba showed him compassion. But nevertheless, he disobeyed one command and fell from favor. We must be perfect. And through Yahushua HaMashiach, we can be perfect. It is not impossible. It is possible through him. And it is demanded that we be perfect as he is perfect. Stop making excuses. We must be perfect. Either we are the good seed or we are from the wicked one, or we are wicked seed. There is no in between. And if you're good seed, that means you're perfect. That means you're walking upright. And the enemy who sowed them is the devil, and the harvest is the end of the age, and the reapers are the messengers. As the darnel then is gathered and burned in the fire, so it shall be at the end of this age. The son of Adam shall send out his messengers, and they shall gather out of his reign all stumbling blocks and those doing lawlessness, and they shall throw them into the furnace of fire. There shall be wailing and gnashing of teeth. Then the righteous shall shine forth as the sun in the reign of their father. He who has ears, let him hear. And so as there was a separation here with Esau and Jacob, there is still a separation. Either you a seed of Yaqub or you're seed of Esau. There is no in between. There is no in between. And if we are seed of Yaqub, if we are Yasha'al, we must be pure and perfect, even as he was pure and perfect, even as all our righteous fathers were perfect, even as Yahushua himself showed us by example that it is possible to be perfect. Verse 11. And Yaqub was very much afraid of his brother Esau, and he rose up and fled to the house of Abba, the son of Sham. And he concealed himself there on account of his brother. And Yaqub was there. And Yaqub was 63 years old when he went forth from the land of Canaan, from Cabroon. And Yaqub was concealed in Abba's house 14 years on account of his brother Esau. And he there continued to what? To learn the ways of Yahuwah and his commandments. And his commandments. He there continued to learn to do what? To be perfect. To be perfect. Even as his father in Shamaim is perfect. Even as Abba taught him to be perfect. As Abba learned to be perfect from his father Sham. As Sham learned from Nuach. As Nuach learned from Methuselah and Kanuk. He continued to learn the ways of Yahuwah. He continued to learn the ancient path so that he could be perfect, even as his father is perfect. And when Esau saw that Yaqub had fled and escaped from him, that Yaqub had cunningly obtained the barakah, that Esau grieved exceedingly, and he was also vexed at his father and mother. Look at the seed of Esau. And he also rose up and took his woman and went away from his father and mother to the land of Seir, and he dwelt there. And Esau saw there a woman from amongst the daughters of Kaf, whose name was Basmath, the daughter of Ayalum, the Kittim, and he took her for a woman in addition to his first woman, and also called her name Ada, saying the barakah in that time passed from him. Indeed, he's doomed for death. He's doomed for death. If you read the book of Obadiah, Esau is going to die. Esau is going to die. He's going to be utterly destroyed. But the compassion of Yahuwah is still being extended to him. Because even Esau, even the third generation of Esau, is welcome into the assembly of Yahuwah. He must simply repent. He must simply repent of his dead works and cry out for the Ruach HaKadosh and receive the adoption as son and obey the same Torah that we obey. Redemption is even given to him if he will receive it. If he will receive it. But most of the seed of Esau are not going to receive redemption. Most of them are going to receive death and everlasting punishment, just like their father Esau. Verse 13 or verse 14. And when the woman of Esau vexed and provoked Ishkak and Rebekah with their works, for they walked not in the ways of Yahuwah, but served their fathers Elohim of wood and stone, as their father had taught them. And they were more wicked than their father. And they were more wicked than their father. Let's see how much more I got. I don't think I'm going to read this whole chapter. I'm going to read this whole chapter. I'm going to read a few more verses, then we're going to shut this down. I'm going to read a few more verses and we're going to shut this down. The message is already gone forth. And they went according to the evil desires of their hearts, and they sacrificed and burnt incense to the Baalim. And Ishkak and Rebekah became weary of them. And Rebekah said, I am weary of my life because of the daughters of Kaf. If Yaqub take a woman of the daughters of Kaf, such as these, which are of the daughters of the land, what good then is life unto me? And in those days Ada, the woman of Esau, conceived and bore him a son. And Esau called the name of his son that was born unto him Eliphaz. And Esau was 65 years old when she bore him. And Ishmael, the son of Abraham, died in those days, and in the 64th year of the life of Yaqub. And all the days of Ishmael lived were 137 years, and he died. And Ishkak heard that Ishmael was dead. And when Ishkak heard that Ishmael was dead, he mourned for him. And Ishkak lamented over him many days. And at the end of 14 years, Yaqub residing in the house of Abba, Yaqub desired to see his father and mother. And Yaqub came to the house of his father and mother to Gabroon, and also had in those days forgotten what Yaqub had done to him in having taken the barakah from him in those days. And also saw Yaqub coming to his father and mother. He remembered what Yaqub had done to him, and he was greatly incensed against him and sought to slay him. As we read, anyone who wants to slay his brother is a seed of the wicked one. Whether you want to slay him in your heart or whether you physically carry it out. If you have hatred in your heart for your brother, then you're a seed of Esau. You're a seed of the wicked one. If you have any hatred in your heart towards your brother, then you are not seed of Yaqub. You are seed of Esau. You are not a firstborn son. You are not a firstborn son. And Ishak, the son of Abraham, was old and advanced in days. And Esau said, now my father's time is drawing near, nigh that he must die. And when he shall die, I shall slay my brother Yaqub. And this was told to Rebekah, and she hastened and sent and called for Yaqub her son. And she said unto him, arise, go and flee to Haran to my brother Laban, and remain there for some time until your brother's anger be turned from you, and then shall you come back. And Ishak called unto Yaqub and said unto him, take not a woman from the daughters of Canaan, for thus did our father Abraham command us according to the word of Yahuwah, which he had commanded him. I'm going to read this again. And Ishak called unto Yaqub and said unto him, take not a woman from the daughters of Canaan. Do not become unevenly yoked with unbelievers. This is still the case. We still do not take the daughters of Canaan, the daughters of Esau, the daughters of the wicked one. We still do not do so. For thus did our father Abraham command us according to the word of Yahuwah, which he has commanded him, saying, until your seed will I give this land, if your children guard my covenant that I have made with you, then I will also perform to your children that which I have spoken unto you, and I will not forsake them. Now therefore, my son, hearken to my voice, to all that I shall command you, and refrain from taking a woman from amongst the daughters of Canaan. Arise, go to Haran, to the house of Matat'Yahu, your mother's father, and take unto you a woman from there, from the daughters of Laban, your mother's brother. Therefore take heed, lest you should forget Yahuwah's YAHUAH'S and all his ways in the land to which you go, and should get connected with the people of the land and pursue vanity and forsake YAHUAH'S. Listen to his righteous father. Give him righteous instructions. But when you come to the land, serve their Yahuwah. Do not turn to the right or to the left from the way which I commanded you and which you did learn. In other words, go there and be perfect. Don't turn to the right or to the left. Go there and be perfect. Go there and be perfect in the way which I commanded you and the way and which you did learn. And may Al Shaddai grant you favor in the sight of the people of the earth, that you may take there a woman according to your choice, one who is good and upright in the ways of Yahuwah. And may Elohim give unto you and your seed the barakah of your father Abraham, and make you fruitful and multiply you, and make you become a multitude of people in the land, whether you go, and may Elohim cause you to return to this land, the land of your father's dwelling, with children, and with great riches, with gladness, and with pleasure. And Ishak finished commanding Yaqub, and barakah him, and he gave him many gifts, together with silver and gold, and he sent him away. And Yaqub did what? Hearken to his father and mother, and he kissed them, and rose and went to Padan Haram. And Yaqub was 77 years old when he went out from the land of Canaan, from Baal Shabbat. And I will stop there. Yaqub was perfect. Yaqub was perfect. He obeyed every word that proceeded from the mouth of his father. He obeyed his father and mother. He understood the command to obey his father and mother is intended to teach us that we are to obey our father and Shamayim the same way, that we are to be perfect towards him. and to obey every word that proceeds from his mouth. And so if you've learned nothing else in these teachings thus far, all of our righteous ancient fathers were perfect. They were perfect. All of them were perfect. Yahusha came to demonstrate to us that not only is perfection possible, but that it is demanded of us. It is demanded of us. As we read in the very beginning, 144,000, they are perfect. They will be perfect. The great multitude that's coming out of the great distress, they too will be perfect. But the choice is ours. Chase perfection now, or Yahuwah will cause us to become perfect in the fires of tribulation. That's the choice. There's only two seed of men. There's the wicked seed, and there is the good seed. There is no in between. There is no in between. And if we are good seed, that means that we are firstborn sons. And if we are firstborn sons, we are chasing perfection. It is time out for excuses. This is a mu'adah. This is a mu'adah. This is a mu'adah. Pursue perfection or be left behind to deal with the great distress. Chase perfection or be left behind to deal with the great distress. This is the choice. He's not accepting any more excuses. No more excuses. No more excuses. We must be perfect. We must be perfect. We must be perfect. And we cannot be perfect without the full indwelling of the Ruach HaKadosh, who gives us the power and the ability and the willingness to be perfect, and a hunger and a thirst for righteousness, a hunger and a thirst for perfection. Without him, it is impossible. Without the indwelling, the complete indwelling of the Ruach HaKadosh, it is impossible. Abinu, I've been obedient. I have spoken your word. I have given them your warning. I pray that some took heed. I'm under no illusion that all took heed. But I pray that those whom this word was intended, that they have taken heed, and that they will stop making excuses now, and that they will pursue perfection unlike they have ever done before. That it would now resonate in their minds that they must push beyond what they've ever pushed beyond. They must push further than they've ever pushed before. They must try harder than they've ever tried before. They must pray harder. They must fast longer. They must do what they've never done. They must chase perfection, because you're no longer accepting excuses. You're no longer accepting excuses. This is a mu'adah, and you demand perfection from your people. It is possible. It is possible. We've received and accepted lies long enough. Perfection is possible in you. All things are possible in you. Us and you and us. All things are possible. I pray that this word has not fallen by the wayside. I pray that not one seed has fallen on stony ground. Not one seed is falling amongst thorns. But that this seed has been scattered on fertile soil, such that your Ruach will come even after your servant leaves and water that seed, so that it will grow up to become a mighty tree, producing the fruit that leads to everlasting life. Let not one word that has been spoken through your servant fall void to the ground, but let it accomplish that which you have purposed it to do. Basham Yahusha. So be it. So be it. So be it. So be it. So Mishpaka is the hour. The hour is late. The hour is late there. I have an announcement. And this is both for the Mishpaka here and for the YouTube Mishpaka who will watch this later. Abba is calling Ashiya and I away. He's calling us away into himself. And so this night, this teaching will be the last time that you will see me and Ashiya until the 30th of November. You won't see us again until then, because Abba is calling us away. He's calling us away. I pray that you've taken this word. I pray that it has sunk down deeply into your heart and that it has penetrated your nafash. Your very lives depend on it. He demands perfection. He demands perfection, and he will accept nothing else. He will accept nothing else. So to my YouTube family, this goes for you as well. You will not see my face again. You will not see my face again until at least the 30th of November, Yahuwah willing. Yahuwah willing. So until that time, Yahuwah barak you and guard you. Yahuwah make his face shine upon you and show favor to you. Yahuwah lift up his face upon you and give you shalom. Thus you shall put my name on the children of Yasha'al, and I myself shall barak them. So be it. So be it. So be it.